Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
You know, it's days like these when the plate isn't just full, it's so overwhelming that I feel like I'm letting everybody down. And then I get overheated, and I get really, really hyper, and my brain speeds up, and I get guests on who have great things to say, and I interrupt them. Because, that's why I always thank you for putting up with me, because it makes my brain explode. Every article, because my brain makes connections in memory to a larger picture, and I'm basically like Robbie the Robot with smoke coming out of my ears. So thanks for putting up with me when I say that, because just one of these articles has hundreds of data points with it that give me chills up my back. And then I'm sitting here at home and last night and this morning and in the office looking at all this, and just every story and the way the mainstream media responds to it and tries to lie is crazy. You know, we tell you that we're next year's news today. Roger Stone has been saying since January of 2017, 1 year ago, he has been saying that the key to bringing Obama, Hillary, and all of them to justice is the illegal FISA warrant, which they then lied and said they didn't have. First, they said they were surveilling. Then they said they weren't. Then they said we were crazy and made it up. Remember all the CNN clips? And it just goes on and on. And I kept saying, this is the key to everything. I agreed with Roger that the fact that they were spying illegally on the campaign, and then were doing it when he was president-elect, and then the day he gets elected, it's the front page of the New York Times that they were spying on Trump Tower, and then they lie about it to Congress and say it's preposterous. Clapper, Brennan, Comey, in front of Congress. We have all the clips. We're going to play them today. And now Congress has the classified FISA warrant directed by the president. It wasn't just Comey that went with the fake Fusion GPS. The president of the United States directed that the front runner and the Republican nominee be spied on for espionage with no proof, with a fake dossier, and then lied about it to Congress and lied about it to the American people. And now it's all blown up in their face. And they just hope, like Gruber. Why do I harp on Gruber so much? The top strategist to get Obamacare passed. And he said, I was hired to deceive people that this was going to triple prices on average within 5 years. And I was hired because I'm the best at lying. And thank God the public has no memory. These are quotes. They don't want you to have a memory. And here, right here now, we have Congress, we have senators, we have the FBI coming out. It's all right here. Congress confident bombshell FISA abuse memo will be released soon, resulting in major criminal indictment of major officials. I believe there are people who will go to jail over the intel memo. Worse than Watergate, shocking House intel memo reveals FISA abuse by senior DOJ and FBI. And notice, Trump had this from the time he got into office. He doesn't release secret stuff, though. He's waiting for it to be released through proper channels. Law enforcement was so upset, they leaked to us a previous mass surveillance program of Trump, all his residences, and my residence, and my private office. We broke that last year. So, yeah, next year's news today. And then it goes on and on and on. And then we have the Roger Stone articles from back in March of last year. Trump wiretapping, a scandal bigger than Watergate. Roger Stone go after the fraud of the FISA warrant. Again, that's how smart Roger is. The more and more I realize that guy is scary how dead on he is. We've got even bigger news, too. Just stay with us. It's Friday, the 19th day of January, 2018. I am your host, Alex Jones. Sean Hannity last night said that the Russia investigation is over and is officially blown up in their face. I agree that it's a double head tap what we just saw. The first unstoppable salvo was all the Fusion GPS coming out with the husbands and wives in the Justice Department and FBI, a very close-knit group of less than 30 people at the top, the deputy director of the FBI, the head of the Russia operations, or inside of the Justice Department, all connected, by the way, to the Communist Chinese, smoke screening and blaming Russia for their operations. They went in, created the fake dossier, used it to get the fake FISA warrant, and now we know Obama directed the warrant. Unprecedented, beyond Nixonian. Congress has the memo. It's classified, but they are trying to look at how they're going to release it. Notice Trump knew all this day one. He got elected. He got briefings. Once he was president, that's why they were so scared on the 20th. He could see it all. And that's why when he said, I think it's going to come out Obama was spying on me, and they said, you're insane. Comey said it was insane. We're going to get those clips in front of Congress 2 weeks later. What was that, early February? He said the president, you can pull up the headline, Comey, it's insane to say that Obama ordered spying or knew about spying on Trump. The spying didn't exist, he said, and Obama wasn't involved. It was insane. There it is. Comey called Trump crazy. He used both crazy and insane after Obama wiretapping claims report. There it is, video from the Hill. When did I tell you? I told you, see, my memory has precision. I told you February, but I guess he testified again in the fifth month last year, but he also did it in February. So there you go. Multiple testimonies. So crazy, insane, hearing after hearing after hearing after hearing, and contradicting himself hearing over hearing. There was no secret memos. He didn't leak to the press. There was a secret memo. He did leak to the press. Perjury, 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 perjury. As bad as Brennan saying the NSA has never spied on any U.S. citizen, period. It doesn't exist. It's like saying New York City doesn't exist. Dallas, Texas doesn't exist. Your mama didn't exist. Bananas aren't yellow. Bears aren't brown. The sky isn't blue. There it is. Yeah, in March, Trump's baseless wiretap claim. Remember the hysteria in January, February, March, and April? And CNN clip, Alex Jones is the one. He's the insane person that says the president was being wiretapped, and the White House is using InfoWars as a source. Think about that. The White House wasn't using us as a source. Obama was the source when he was president-elect. When Trump was president-elect, they were in the news saying, we spied on Trump and have total proof he's a Russian. So Trump goes, well, it's illegal to leak that if you have it, but I know that isn't true. So you're lying also about fake leaked intelligence, which is doubly criminal. And now we know it was worse than we thought. Because they're dumb enough to even say in memos, we got to set the president-elect up. We got to stop him. Because that's in the new FISA they got that when Obama was outgoing. Then there's a previous FISA and previous surveillance that wasn't even authorized going on during the campaign, obviously. This is unbelievable. New York Times needs to come clean on wiretap headline. Yeah, that was September of last year, pointing out that on January 20th, 1 year ago tomorrow, that they said they were wiretapping the president. But then again, CNN said that I literally made it up and that there was no reports saying it, even though there were thousands. So see, my crime is a memory. Gruber said we could screw these people over and triple their rates and rob them. Thank God they're so stupid, and thank God they have no memories. A memory is everything. If you're good-natured, love God, and have a good memory, and are hardworking, the universe is yours. And they all bet on you not having a memory. And so now we have congressional investigations. We have congressmen and women that have seen the memos. They say the venom is vicious and that it's Obama directing the whole operation. Well, of course, he's the president. You don't think they're going to carry out stuff this criminal if it wasn't a direct order. But for months and months and months, every day of every week last year, they said that Trump was insane in congressional testimony. Crazy. Mueller said he was crazy. Comey said he was crazy. Everybody said he was crazy. And now, it's all imploding. Comey called Trump crazy and outside the realm of normal, while the president thought there was something wrong with his FBI director. Their toxic relationship revealed. And now everything Trump said confirmed in royal flush yet again. Congressman confident bombshell FISA abuse memo will be released soon. Will result in criminal charges of top officials. I believe people are going to go to jail. Worse than Watergate. We're going to play these clips coming up in the next segment. But we need to have the big headline on Infowars.com and Newswars.com because it seems like nobody else is doing this. We've got to do it yet again. I'm not complaining. I just don't get how people don't see the forest for the trees here. The headline, Trump 100% vindicated in saying he was illegally spied on. Because they illegally went and lied with fake dossiers knowingly in meetings, saying it's an insurance policy, to then go get a warrant to authorize with parallel construction what they were already doing for over a year and a half illegally. And all that's coming out. So we need to go and show screenshots of the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN, just like I just did on TV. If you're a radio listener, they're putting up dozens of articles saying Trump's insane, Trump's crazy, didn't happen. And then it's exactly as he said. And ram that down their throat because that's the medicine to the poison. That's the medicine of the lies of them saying we're fake news, the president's insane, he's fake, he's dangerous. No, over and over. You'll never have a growth rate of 3%. Roared past that. New York Times, Krugman, full of prunes. You just won the fake news awards, telling America we'd never be great again, demoralizing us like Tokyo Rose in World War II. Unbelievable. And now all of it proven yet again in your stinking faces. Take that. People ask, how can suddenly things 1 year later be so much better, be turning around so quickly? Because it was artificial suppression. That's what globalism is. China has been picked as the industrial base and the place to have prosperity for the elite, not the people. It's an economic war. This has been a 21st century war. And guess what? Patriots just recaptured the country to a certain extent. That's all. We're just Americans. Trump's an American. I'm an American. Rand Paul's an American. You're an American. You could be Hispanic, black, white, whatever. Doesn't matter. If you like America, if you want prosperity, if you want to have freedom, if you want to have a decent life, you believe America's had some really great things about it, and you don't want foreign multinational secret corporations running your life, then you're an American. Let's come in for the big win here, folks. We can do it. We've turned the tide, but I'm telling you, they've created a super PAC called I Am Going to Assassinate President Donald Trump. And it was filed in that den of globalist evil, Chicago. We'll be back with all of this and then even bigger news. Yes, yes, yes. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. So, let's cover the anatomy of one of the biggest frauds and one of the biggest fake news stories of 2017. That was mainstream media, establishment, you know what, whole media, telling you that Trump was never wiretapped, period. Trump Tower wasn't. No one in his entourage was spied on, despite the fact that they bragged that they'd done it at the end of the campaign and when he was president-elect. And so here's an article out of Newsweek just last year, December 30th. Did Obama wiretap Trump? No. But it was just one of the right's top conspiracy theories of 2017. So this is just 20 days ago. They're still saying this didn't happen when it's all admitted. Imagine who reads this. The most gullible people. Now, if you guys pull that InfoWars article back up, please, I can give them the date. Thank you. Here is an Adon Salazar article from March of last year when we were hammering them with the truth. So was Drudge Report. New York Times editor blames InfoWars for Trump wiretap claims after reporting on wiretaps. And he goes on to say that I made it up. So what they do is when they want to say something's fake, they just go, oh, that came from Jones. Because they want to discredit us at the same time, turn us into a symbol of falsehood when we're the symbol of truth. That's what we attempt to be. And then project the lie again, regurgitate the lie onto Trump and the American people. Knowing full well his paper ran 20-plus articles in January saying that they'd wiretap the president, and that we've gone over all those articles just from the New York Times saying it in January alone. But as soon as he became the president, he said, that's illegal, and it's not true. And they went, you're insane. You're crazy. Here's the FBI director. No one ever spied on you. You're crazy. Then we think it's the DEA gives us the documents of Trump and myself being spied on for 8 years by Obama. I knew it was real database because it was phone numbers I had in my private office that nobody had. And it said Alex Jones's private office number, Trump's private office number, Trump's private apartment at Mar-a-Lago number. And I had Trump's number at Mar-a-Lago, his private number. And I'm sitting there going, my God, this is real. And you notice the media didn't touch that when we released screenshots with our numbers blacked out, because they knew it was Pulitzer Prize level information. Oh, Roger Stone convinced Obama administration got FISA warrant to monitor him. And now that was last year, early last year, April of last year, all of it proven. And what did Stone say over and over again? Next year's News Today, he said they got an illegal FISA with illegal BS, and they spy on everybody, including you, Alex, and including Trump and his whole family, and they're lying about it. And they've perjured themselves to Congress. We have them cut and dry. They will go to jail if Trump moves on this. And every time he talks to the president, he says, sir, the FISA court was illegal. They had illegal wiretapping before. They lied to do it. You've got to go after them. You've got them cut and dry, just like they got Nixon for illegal spying. Cut and dry. And now you see it. That's why they hate us, folks, because we are technical. We're on the level with what's really going on, talking to the experts. That's why they want to shut down. And I just keep saying that because it's like, alert, 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 alert. Where, you know, the base is being attacked, and I just keep going, just letting you know that this is going on in between the information we put out. But we're at a red alert level here. This is a full-on civil war with hardcore criminals that sold us out to the communist Chinese. Obama's a communist Chinese agent, all of them. And these people are hardcore criminals. And you suddenly see it in the news. Chinese communists have taken over every university. Chinese communists have bought up Hollywood. Twitter takes the orders of the communist Chinese. Google. I mean, they tell them what to censor in America. All that undercover video is coming out. So, this is from March. We can put the InfoWars article back up. Great job finding that. There's a bunch of these videos. But here is CNN memorializing the fact that they say that I made it up that Trump was being spied on and that I was Trump's source. Memorializing what lying scum, and by the way, Anderson Cooper is leftist foundation CIA, and I can tell you right now that that New York Times editor, unbelievable. These are the enemies of this country. Arrogant, conceited, think they're invincible. Guess what? You're just men like everybody else. In fact, you're traitorous men. You're globalist. You were hired because you hate the country. You were hired because you actually enjoy kicking America while it was down. Well, guess what, buddy? Both of you. We're not down anymore. We've been stomped pretty bad, but we're up and awake now, and we're politically going to get you back. You understand that? You started it. You're going to get it now, scum. Everything you did to my family, everybody else, what you've done to Trump, what you've done to the veterans, what you've done to the old people, all your crap's coming to an end. You got that? It doesn't mean some utopia's coming, but we're not out to piss all over the country and break its back so we can teach it a lesson like you globalists are. So let's go to these two traitors. Back in March, memorializing the truth, because we have a memory, and we're going to keep hammering them when people start going to prison, and they're never going to stop trying to get the president. You can't play this game where, it's going to cause a civil war if we send Hillary and all of them to prison. Mr. President, they're not going to stop. They already started a civil war. They've all got to go to prison. They're saying you're a dictator. We all need to be shut down, take our free speech, and then say you're doing that. They've already launched their operations. Phil Mudd's on TV saying he's going to kill you. All we can do is go after him now. Turn the dogs loose. They started it. They did it. They're the foreign power. They're the enemy. They're the traitors. Get them. Get them. Here's the clip.
And so there's this bizarre circular thing happening where the president cites a theory that he was wiretapped, which developed on the kind of fringe right-wing media.
And then there's the New York Times.
And then after his tweet storm, InfoWars then started saying, well, look, it was the New York Times that reported it, citing our story, misreading our story. And now, a few weeks later, the White House and the president are citing InfoWars. So they've got one kind of bizarre right-wing fringe theory to defend another bizarre right-wing fringe theory, both of which there's no evidence to support.
And just to be clear here, there is, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's absolutely nothing whatsoever in your reporting in the New York Times that indicates President Obama wiretapped or ordered wiretapping of then candidate Trump, correct?
Nothing. I mean, if we knew that, that is a fantastic story.
And it just goes on. And now we know it's in the FISA document. The president directed it himself. Of course he did. I mean, you don't just think we thought that, right? You don't think that once he was president-elect and once he was president, he didn't get all that information. And you don't just think, oh, I'm the source for the president? How about the president's the source? You people are sick, man. Enemies of everything decent. Just a group of knuckle-dragging thug criminals who thought they could rape this country forever. We'll be back with the congressional preparation for criminal charges. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. I'm Alex Jones, your host, Infowars.com, Newswars.com. In a few minutes, we're going to go to Trump, who has just started speaking live at a pro-life demonstration and true women's march ahead of what's coming up with the George Soros-financed situation. So we're going to play his remarks. And then I'm going to get back into just how huge this is right now, just how ultra-massive this is right now, that Congress has now seen the FISA memos. Obama ordered it illegally. They lied to get it. We have their other memos where they admit it's a setup to get the president. Then we have them perjuring themselves to Congress last year saying they never did it. That's Comey to Congress. I mean, this is major perjury. Not to mention Obama directing spy agencies against candidate, nominee, president-elect, and then leaving stay-behind networks in government to try to stop the return of the country that's put under globalist control. We are literally involved in a counter coup, taking our country back. It's just unbelievable. Look at the economy. Look at everything. And then Bono and the U2 that's gotten millions and millions of dollars a month, really billions in the aggregate, billions and billions off of African aid packages and others. And, of course, he used to give 0.8%. Under criticism, he started giving 1.2%. So this is a guy that steals money even bigger than the Clintons from black people. But then he has a virtue signaling video with the KKK marching at the White House that calls for opening our borders to everybody. So they destroy the third world, then flood us. I mean, it's just, again, upside down world. Everything they say, it's the opposite. And just look at this monster. Look at the monsters that are people like Bono that just prey on people. It's unspeakable. So that's coming up. Right now, though, let's go ahead and go to the president's ongoing remarks. They're live right now at the Women's March. Pence is also there. Here it is.
Thank you very much. That's so nice. Sit, please. We have tens of thousands of people watching us right down the road. Tens of thousands. So I congratulate you. And at least we picked a beautiful day. You can't get a more beautiful day. I want to thank our Vice President, Mike Pence, for that wonderful introduction. I also want to thank you and Karen for being true champions for life. Thank you, and thank Karen. Today I'm honored and really proud to be the first president to stand with you here at the White House to address the 45th March for Life. That's very, very special. 45th March for Life. And this is a truly remarkable group. Today, tens of thousands of families, students, and patriots, and really just great citizens gather here in our nation's capital. You come from many backgrounds, many places, but you all come for one beautiful cause: to build a society where life is celebrated, protected, and cherished. The March for Life is a movement born out of love. You love your families, you love your neighbors, you love our nation, and you love every child, born and unborn, because you believe that every life is sacred, that every child is a precious gift from God. We know that life is the greatest miracle of all. We see it in the eyes of every new mother who cradles that wonderful, innocent, and glorious newborn child in her loving arms. I want to thank every person here today and all across our country who works with such big hearts and tireless devotion to make sure that parents have the care and support they need to choose life. Because of you, tens of thousands of Americans have been born and reached their full God-given potential. Because of you, you're living witnesses of this year's March for Life theme, and that theme is Love Saves Lives. As you all know, Roe versus Wade has resulted in some of the most permissive abortion laws anywhere in the world. For example, in the United States, it's one of only 7 countries to allow elective late-term abortions, along with China, North Korea, and others. Right now, in a number of states, the laws allow a baby to be born from his or her mother's womb in the 9th month. It is wrong. It has to change.
This is incredible.
Americans are more and more pro-life. You see that all the time. In fact, only 12% of Americans support abortion on demand at any time.
This is too powerful.
Under my administration, we will always defend the very first right in the Declaration of Independence, and that is the right to life.
Wow. He's the first sitting president since Roe v. Wade to actually go to one of these events. He pledged he would. He just continues. And their sacrament is this. This is the heart of the globalist operation.
Mark exactly 1 year since I took the oath of office.
He's totally real. This is the final proof.
And I will say our country is doing really well. Our economy is perhaps the best it's ever been. You look at the job numbers. You look at the companies pouring back into our country.
Yes.
You look at the stock market at an all-time high. Unemployment, 17-year low. Unemployment for African-American workers at the lowest mark in the history of our country. Unemployment for Hispanic at a record low in history. Unemployment for women, think of this, at an 18-year low. We're really proud of what we're doing. And during my first week in office, I reinstated a policy first put in place by President Ronald Reagan, the Mexico City policy.
This will be a day long remembered.
I strongly supported the House of Representatives' pain-capable bill, which would end painful late-term abortions nationwide. And I call upon the Senate to pass this important law and send it to my desk for signing.
Yes. They don't even tell the women they can just have the baby and get paid by the adoption groups hundreds of thousands of dollars. They don't tell the women that. They just they harvest the baby.
I signed an executive order to protect religious liberty.
They've been using the IRS to bully churches, absolutely.
Very proud of that.
He promised me personally he would do that.
That we have just issued a new proposal to protect conscience rights and religious freedoms of doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals. So important.
I'll hit pause.
I have
He's
also
live,
just reversed the previous...
But it won't be live when we come back, but we're going to play all of it. This is some of the preempt stuff if we have to. This is he just keeps popping up and keeps delivering every day, winning, and sanctifying life and glorifying it and humanizing babies and humanizing families and talking about how humans are good and then that makes people act good. And it makes people have vision and it makes them believe. And then you see it happen. We've been under conscious demoralization just like a foreign military does to its enemy. And it's stopping. And the enemies are just like completely out of control, frothing at the mouth, not knowing what to do. You can see it's a spiritual war. And I'm not judging everybody that's had abortions. A lot of people that mean well have them. I'm not judging you. I'm saying that people that push it and love it at their level, it is their greatest sacrament. They don't just like raping babies. They take the tissue of the babies and then they grow the tissue in these vats, and then they harvest it, and they grind it up into vaccine material, into flavor testing for Pepsi, into thousands of products we know of. We are literally ingesting our own children, and it's done not from a position of eugenics, even at the base level, to get rid of poor people as it's pushed, and to make society better. No. It's done to dehumanize everything, and Trump, and the times I've talked to him, would say, you know, I know they're targeting churches of the IRS. We're going to stop that. And we're going to stop partial birth abortion. And we're going to go back to the states. And you know, that's constitutional. And we're going to save children. And I'd say, well, I'm a Christian, sir. Yes, I'm really glad that you're saying that. But I still kind of halfway believe the media that he was this big liberal somehow. And this was rhetoric. And I'm like, sure, let's get the tax cut, stabilize the country. And I'm sure that's going to be great. But then Trump, 3 or 4 times I've talked to him, brings up the energy at churches and the people praying. And then he talks like, especially when he's in black churches, he's like, man, do you feel the energy in here? And he gets high off of it. And, you know, Trump didn't used to pick that up in the elite churches he went to and stuff where it's all just a social gathering. And Trump likes the average people, and he's into energy, positive energy. He's like the opposite of a psychic vampire. You know, I've only been around Trump a couple times and not even really able to talk to him. And it's like, you feel the energy. Same thing with his wife, is even more energy. And you're almost like, can't even hardly walk up to him. And it's not like any Hollywood stars I've ever seen any of it. It's like when they turn it on, man, it's like, and the globalists know it. And he's been a sleeper cell for 50 years. His dad was a big anti-globalist patriot, gave huge amounts of money to the John Birch Society. He fought NAFTA and GATT. And he has been literally preparing for this his whole life. This is unbelievable. I mean, this is, let me tell you, their final thing is abortion. It's their whole cult, their whole system. And when you go after that like he's doing, there's no way he's with the Illuminati. There's no way he's with this system. There is no way, and he'd be doing this. Zero. And, of course, my gut tells me that, too. And the churches, their gut tells them that. The real churches. That's why he liked hot women when he's, or most of that's made up. Whatever. King David, had his best friend killed so he could have his wife. He repented of it later. He did it out of the flesh. He wasn't inherently evil. Trump hasn't done 1/100th what King David, a man after God's own heart, the prototype of Christ, did. But what you judge a man by is the fruits and by the man's enemies. And by his fruits and by his enemies, you know this man, so many Christians have said, predestined to win, can't be stopped, all this stuff. They feel it in the spirit. And I'm kind of like, come on, let's not be that optimistic. And now, I mean, they're going to try to kill him. We already know that. They're like demons crawling around on their bellies right now, or the pigs running over the edge of the cliff when, you know, Christ tells Legion, not the name of the demon, but we are Legion, you know, out of him, and the demons run into the pigs, and they run off the edge of a cliff. That's what these people are doing, the Democrats, the globalists, all of them, and then they're slaves. Because they get the left into this elitism that we're the intellectuals, everybody else are country bumpkins, people that believe in God are idiots, blah, 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 and then we're going to run society and we know best. That's your average liberal means well. But above them are really dark controllers who know and who are into the occult and into dark energy and into death and into being evil and into being selfish. And when you pull back and see them, it's sick. And you just thank God you're not those people. This is so historic. I didn't even know this was going to happen. There've been rumors of it, and just boom, it pops up. So I don't even know if he's still speaking, because we were playing it live. But now we've got it paused from earlier. I haven't even plugged this hour, because I'm just I can't even plug products in the middle of stuff like this. So please support the show, InfoWarsStore.com, or we won't be here. Thank you all for your support. Let's go back. But the president's delivering. You're delivering. Here he is.
Today I'm announcing that we have just issued a new proposal to protect conscience rights and religious freedoms of doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals. So important. I have also just reversed the previous administration's policy that restricted states' efforts to direct Medicaid funding away from abortion facilities that violate the law.
Exactly what he told me on the phone a year ago. Boom. That's how, see that?
We are protecting the sanctity of life and the family as the foundation of our society. But this movement can only succeed with the heart and the soul and the prayer of the people.
A pro-human future.
Here with us today is Mary Anna Donadio from Greensboro, North Carolina. Where is Mary Anna? Hello, come on up here, Mary Anna. Come. Nice to see you, baby.
People are the foundation.
Mariana was 17 when she found out she was pregnant. At first, she felt like she had no place to turn. But when she told her parents, they responded with total love, total affection, total support. Great parents? Great? I thought you were going to say that. I had to be careful. Mariana bravely chose life and soon gave birth to her son. She named him Benedict, which means blessing. Mariana was so grateful for her parents' love and support.
Hit pause. Thanks. Did you see Trump just go, doing good and good energy? That's the secret to Trump. He's getting high off of this. He's getting energy off of doing good. Not off everybody praising him up there, but off of delivering on what he said he would do. When he signed the tax cut that knocked out much of Obamacare, he went, when he pushed that thing out after he signed it, see, this is what being honorable is about. It's spiritual. It's getting closer to God each time you do good. And maybe 30, 40 years ago, Trump wasn't that close to God, but he's getting a lot closer. And this is all of our journeys we're talking about here. This is just amazing. And let's go back to the president.
As fortunate as her. She joined with others in her community to start a maternity home to care for homeless women who were pregnant. It's great. They named it Room at the Inn. Today, Mariana and her husband, Don, are the parents of 6 beautiful children, and her eldest son, Benedict, and her daughter, Maria, join us here today. Where are they? Come on over.
Praising families, praising real wealth, not Hollywood red carpets. Great. This is the opposite of Satanism.
Over the last 15 years, Room at the Inn has provided housing, child care, counseling, education, and job training to more than 400 women. Even more importantly, it has given them hope It has shown each woman that she is not forgotten, that she is not alone, and she really now has a whole family of people who will help her succeed. That hope is the true gift of this incredible movement that brings us together.
He just said
today.
The family's wealth. See?
It is the gift of friendship, the gift of mentorship, and the gift of encouragement, love, and support. Those are beautiful words, and those are beautiful gifts. And most importantly of all, it is the gift of life itself. That is why we march. That is why we pray, and that is why we declare that America's future will be filled with goodness, peace, joy, dignity, and
Praise
life
God.
For every child of God.
Hit pause again. We got to go to break.
Thank you to the...
I told you when I was there a year ago, before I even tweeted out, the New York Times and said, how did you know what he would speak about it? I didn't. I felt it. I said he's going to bring God back into the covenant. He's going to declare that people have value again. He's going to say that families have value, that the states have value, that the power is the people, and that and that again, we're not going to be transhumanists. We're not going to go down this road. And now he's doing a ritual up there of love's coming into America, decency, honor, life, the family. He's literally engaged in a ritual, a Christian ritual, saying, we're bringing the light back in. We're bringing God back in. Last night I was talking to one of the top writers in the country, and I was talking about a big project we're working on that's very, very important. I'm just going to leave it at that. And it's a simple thing, but it's key. And it spells it all out right here. I said, thanks for believing in a human future and fighting for it. And we go on to talk about that. We're fighting for a human future. Which side are you on? This is the info war. Stay with us. You know, the left puts out a lot of different lies. They claim the president doesn't mean what he says. He's a liar. He never keeps his promises. But that lie's kind of receding because it's so ridiculous. Now they just go, okay, he is keeping all his promises or trying as hard as he can, and he's insane. So continuing with the speech that has been live, but we've been pausing it during the breaks, the president at the March for Life, other presidents, Reagan would never go. That was seen as too insinuatory. It's kind of in the back halls of things. Yeah, we don't really want all these black people to have kids, do we? I'm not saying Reagan was like that, but that's kind of the attitude of the Democrats and the Republicans. And, you know, too many brown people or whatever. And that's what Margaret Sanger and the left's all about. That's why they want to manage the left so they can make sure they kill as many brown people as possible while using those that live as weapons against the whites to have total control. And then George Herbert Walker Bush wouldn't do it, and George W. Bush wouldn't do it. None of them would ever attend any of these big pro-life events. Well, guess what he did? He said, give me a year, maybe two. We'll turn this whole thing around, Alex. And he's about to go on the attack starting in 48 hours. In the first 2 days he was in office, he signed executive orders getting us out of the TPP, visited the CIA, turned the coal back on. He did hundreds of things in the first 2 days. What's he going to do Sunday? Day number 1. First year is salvage. Next year is savage. Oh, and the savaging is going to begin, and they're racing to kill him right now. Let's play a few more minutes of the president where he was invoking life, humanity having value. We're not trash. We're not ugly. We're not garbage. We're connected to God. We're beautiful, creative creatures. And when we believe that, we then can have that. It's not like Oprah Winfrey's secret that you want a big house or a car, you get it. It's the secret of we already have it. Let's go ahead and play it.
Thank you, everybody.
The president there, as he has just wrapped up his remarks at the March for Life. Of course, he's speaking from the Rose Garden, and he had next to him a woman named Mariana Donadio, who was his example of someone who bravely chose life when she found out that she was 17 years old and pregnant. That person now has 6 children, married, and helps run an organization called Room at the Inn. The president began his remarks as the first in his position to ever, in all of its years of existence.
It's just reality is so epic. People overuse the word epic, but this is getting epic. It's like we had 107 fever. We were falling apart a year ago. And now we're out mowing the yard. Got a nice tan. There's still a lot of bad things going on in the neighborhood. But as a country, we're on the mend. And it's a dramatic, miraculous recovery. And then you look at the nastiness of the Democrats, the nastiness of the globalists, the Pope saying, open your borders, and, and attacking Catholics that criticize pedophilia in the Catholic Church. He came out and said, it's not going on, leave us alone. Truly evil. And Justin Trudeau puts pro-lifers on notice that their views won't be tolerated in public. You're not allowed to put it out on the internet, not allowed to demonstrate. You have no rights in Canada. Man, talk about authoritarianism. That was what Trudeau said yesterday. Will you guys print me that? Get the video if you can. Now, we've got a blitzkrieg of video coming up. And just incredible breaking news on so many fronts, and what's happened with the FISA warrant and what was filed to get it, they say is exponentially worse than the memos with the Deputy Director McCabe saying we got to set the president up. We can't let him get into office. We got to have an insurance policy. And making stuff up. I mean, this is Obama directing, viciously saying, stop him. They're so arrogant, they don't even do it the right way if they were going to be corrupt. They're just like, get him, set him up. Here's the order. They're like, yes, master. I mean, it's just incredible. And all you Democrats that signed on to this, you don't even get anything out of this. You're just idiots. We'll be back. Stay with us. This is The Fight. This is how, without violence, we carry out violence against the liars, the scum, the control freaks, and their victims that think that they're going to run us over. Because I feel sorry for the victims of globalism, but a lot of them are dangerous, brainwashed, bug-eyed heathen. And like I keep telling them, I don't know how all this is going to end, but if you want to fight, you better believe you got one. And isn't it funny? As soon as decent people started fighting back across the world, evil started falling just like dominoes. Evil always seems unstoppable when it's running wild, taking over, until it runs into real resistance. And then it doesn't ever know what to do because it believes its own delusion. Like CNN and MSNBC and all of them. Can we cue up that clip one more time of Anderson Cooper and the New York Times editor saying, I made up the FISA fake warrant and I made up the wiretapping, and Comey says I'm crazy, says Trump's crazy, says everybody's crazy that says it. When it was already on record then. Just like they thought they'd tell you Obamacare was free. And then once they got it passed, they said, oh, it's as cheap as a cable bill. Then they said you could keep your doctor. And then they said they never said you could keep your doctors. Lies, 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 lies. We're putting the articles on screen for TV viewers. You want me to subject the audience, the radio audience, to Comey's voice? Let's try to grab that, because he said crazy in one and insane in another. So one was a March hearing, one was like a little bit later than that. And then I'm going to just run through these clips. I've got to stop pontificating. But former Secret Service agent, FISA memo will destroy image of benevolent Obama. Comey to teach ethical leadership course at William & Mary. That's like Jeffrey Dahmer will teach a course on not being a cannibal. or I don't know. Just crazy. Chicago man files a pact called I'm going to assassinate the president, Donald J. Trump. California AG says we'll prosecute employers who cooperate with ICE. That's a federal jurisdiction, illegals on the border. And so then to say if you follow federal law and don't hire illegals or report it or whatever, we're going to prosecute you. That's called racketeering. the very definition. If you follow the law, and if you don't commit crimes under our little thing here, our little La Cosa Nostra, our little thing here in California, in these cities, we're going to prosecute you, says the Attorney General. See, they've passed laws in Illinois and California to let illegal aliens vote, but then the AGs would never sign off on it. They would just kind of disappear them, or the governor wouldn't sign them. But now they're so hyped up and crazy, they're like, listen, we're not even going to convict people that shoot women in the back and basically admit they did it. And they've got illegal aliens in these hearings. Was one this week saying, when I get out of here, I'm going to kill more people. And the left's like, we're going to release you. Because it's such an in-your-face thing that the Democrat sheriff got voted out, a black sheriff here in Travis County. Just pointing out, everybody's a racist. He was a huge racist. He would deport on average 3 people a week. Rapists, arsonists, murderers. He would give them to ICE out of hundreds and hundreds of illegals arrested. And they voted him out, man. Democrats said, no, sir, buddy. Illegal who killed cops wishes he'd kill more of the mother effers. I will break out soon. I will kill more. Yeah, there's video. We never played it. I should have. Laughing. I'm sorry. I'm digressing. And the Attorney General says, you stand up to that? You report somebody who's illegal, even if they just raped your daughter, I'm going to put you in prison. Whoa. Whoa. You don't use the proper pronoun for someone, man or woman. You call somebody man or woman and they didn't want to be called, you're going to jail. What? This sounds like the Tea Party, out of Alice in Wonderland. But they're not crazy. They're overturning everything to create destruction. Here's that clip from CNN, though. Again, last March, saying that we made up the illegal spying, which is all confirmed in triplicate. Here it is.
And so there's this bizarre circular thing happening where the president cites a theory that he was wiretapped, which developed on the kind of fringe right-wing media. And then after his tweet storm, InfoWars then started saying, well, look, it was the New York Times that reported it, citing our story, misreading our story. And now, a few weeks later, the White House and the president are citing InfoWars. So they've got one kind of bizarre right-wing fringe theory to defend another bizarre right-wing fringe theory, both of which there's no evidence to support.
And just to be clear here, there is, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's absolutely nothing whatsoever in your reporting in the New York Times that indicates President Obama wiretapped or ordered wiretapping of then candidate Trump, correct?
Nothing. I mean, if we knew that, that is a fantastic story.
I mean, those guys look like they'd kill you for a stick of bubble gum. I mean, they look disingenuous. But, of course, they also are disingenuous and big fat liars. Just look at these two. Think they're in love with themselves? So here is Congressman Gates and others are saying that have seen the FISA document. It is something they say is so criminal, so over the top, that these people are all going to go to jail if the Attorney General does his job. Here it is.
I think that this will not end just with firings. I believe there are people who will go to jail. I was very persuaded by the evidence, and it also became clear to me why Chuck Grassley and Lindsey Graham felt it so important to refer this matter for criminal prosecution. You don't get to try to undermine our country, undermine our elections, and then simply get fired. So I think there will be criminal implications here, and we have to underscore the point that you and Jim Jordan just made. Every single Democrat on the Intelligence Committee voted against even allowing other members of Congress to see this information. So you know they're going to fight against release to the American people. What are the Democrats so afraid of? Why don't they want the American people to know the truth about what was going on with the government, how that impacted the president, his transition, his campaign? And it just seems interesting to me that Democrats don't want us to know what the entire basis was in the first place for the Mueller probe. They want to drag this out through the midterm elections to try to embarrass this president and distract this Congress from the critical work we've got to do to save this great country. Let's release the documents.
And the full clips are up on Infowars.com of Gates, of Jim Jordan going over it all. It's classified, so they can't release it yet. The Democrats fought. They had the Democrat cabal inside the FBI, Democrat cabal inside the Justice Department, directed by Hillary and Obama. We had that map last week we were kept showing, or this week. I mean, it shows like the crime chart. And it's all confirmed now, right down to the American people, right to the FISA court, right to the whole system. And so just like they had that compartmentalized in Congress, the Democrats are like, no, don't look at the warrant, because it's got El Presidente's fingerprints on it. Now, there's the map. So you've got Lynch and Comey under Obama, and then you've got Sally Yates, and you've got Andrew McCabe, and you've got Orr and Carlin and Lisa Page and Peter Strzok and Baker and Prystapp, and then Fusion GPS and the Russian dossier. They pay for it. They create it. The group of their underlings do it. They get paid government money to create the fabrication, the fraud, and then they shovel it out through the media, and now the Democrats in Congress, like Peter Schiff and the rest of them, fight like drowning rats. Scrabbling as the water rises in an attempt to get out their bee red eyes, rubbing their rat-like hands together. Just, what are we going to do politically as the water of truth rises? We are living in some fake echo chamber, libertarians, conservatives, nationalists, common sense people, and they're living in the real world. Well, really, this FISA document and the fact that Congress has it and the fact that Obama did order the illegal spying with false info on Trump has been out now for a couple days, and there's been almost no news coverage of it, except on places like DrudgeReport.com and Infowars.com. And Newsweek is saying that it's a conspiracy theory still, that none of this existed, nobody ever spied on the president or anybody else, even when it's now admitted in congressional testimony, and Comey's been caught perjuring himself. It just gets crazier and crazier. And now we've got Hannity coming out saying, you know, disband the Russiagate. It's a total fraud. Then they spin it. Oh, you're scared of it. No, it's a total fraud created by Democrat Party holdovers inside the Justice Department. We now understand it's a total fraud. There's nothing to fear, but I'll tell you this. I say leave it there. It's so embarrassing to the establishment. But President Trump reportedly is agreeing to meet with Mueller. I'm sure the president knows what he's doing, but he better record it, because Mueller will come out and tell a lie just like Comey did, because Mueller is involved with the communist Chinese, the Russians. He has waivers from the Justice Department to do so. These are the bad actors. They're really bad people. So this is a very, very critical time to be alive right now. Let's play a clip of Hannity talking about this.
Now, at the end of all of this, we're going to learn an awful lot, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that the special counsel Robert Mueller and his band of Democratic witch hunters never should have been appointed, and they need to be disbanded immediately. Now, here's why Strzok and Page are connected to everything. What we're learning tonight is that these two Trump-hating individuals, they're at the heart and soul and center of it all.
All right, let's stop right there.
We still have 9,600 texts.
And let's put that map back up if we can of the different players. Hannity, I'm not criticizing Hannity because he's got more courage than anybody else on mainstream television, but this is still watered down. Most of these people are involved with the Russians and the Chinese and covering up previous Clinton crimes. So they're not just creating a fraud to derail the election of a patriotic, great president. They're not just witch hunters. They're not just haters. They organized criminal activity to defraud the American voter of this recovery. So it's much, much worse than what Hannity's saying. The Russia investigation's been dead for months. It's like shooting an old dead horse 50 more times. It's still a dead horse. The issue is, what are these people going to dig up next, and are we going to sit there and put up with them? I know Hannity doesn't want to sound too extreme, but they are extreme. Obama ran this whole thing. He needs to go to prison. These people aren't above the law. These aren't Americans. These are globalists. Oh, it'll cause a civil war. They're already trying to cause one. Justice be done, may the heavens fall. We have to attack them legally and lawfully. We have to go after Soros. We have to defeat them all. They're not going to stop. Like World War II, you don't just kick Hitler back into Germany. He's going to reconstitute and attack again. You don't just kick the Japanese out of the Pacific Islands. You got to go all the way to Tokyo. They started it. You think I want to keep going up against these people when they're after me? No, but whatever has to happen is going to happen. We're going all the way against these people, period. We have to do it. There's no other choice. They've all got to politically hang for their crimes. And incidentally, you know what the punishment for treason is. These are the foreign individuals that took our country over. They're the ones that corrupted everything, almost to the point of the country's death, and they're still trying to strangle the country today. We must stand against them. All right, moving along. Just looking into an area of total fraud, total disingenuousness, total upside-down world is Bono of U2, that I guess might have been cool 30 years ago. That is the propaganda arm of the UN, the globalist, every pump and dump scheme, every scam to go have African aid. And then you learn that Bono's charity gives less than 1%, and under pressure, he gives 1.2%. Bono's One Foundation gives under 1%, under fire. Go read it for yourself. Daily Mail, you name it. He's worse than the Clintons. They gave like 2.5% to Haiti and stole all the rest. Doesn't matter, though. He can virtue signal and have a big music video showing dead kids washing up on the shore. It's our fault the Muslims are killing each other, and showing the KKK marching. This guy's so dialed into everything on Spotify or on your car, or on, you have to go in and program it not to force feed you Bono songs. You can look it up in the news. They default force feed you him. I mean, they are the biggest globalist whores on the planet. And they're the ones robbing the world and then having graphics of Molotov cocktails telling you to go out and burn down Crackerland. Fight back with a Molotov cocktail and stop being a slave of the system. That's right. Don't get the tax cuts. Don't get the health care. Don't get a stabilized economy. Don't get a world built for people that believes in people. No. And then a bunch of iconography about death. Oh, but then showing you a bunch of children of the world all living together, but under who? Under who? Who's going to run the big world government? Who's going to control the big world government? Who's going to direct it? Oh, it's a secret TPP. It's a secret directorate. You can't even know what it is. Kind of like, oh, Congress can't even see the FISA warrant against Trump because it's the Fusion GPS and was directed by Obama. We know Susan Rice and all of them were unmasking, privately going into everybody's data, their phones, their emails. They were just sitting in the White House, peering over Ivanka Trump and peering over Melania Trump and poring over Don Jr. and Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. Just in there, beavering away and then leaking stuff to the press, but 90% false, but enough truth in it to make it believable in something beyond the East German Stasi could ever have imagined. And then they still have the New York Times and CNN saying none of it's true, none of it's true, as they have hearings and admit it's all true. As they hang on by their fingernails. But the wind gets stronger and stronger, and now they're hanging on by one hand, and they're never going to hang on. Even if they kill the president, they're done. The globalists are done. This current crop of criminals screwed the pooch. You have been defeated. You have been defeated. And we are back live. You know, Bono and U2 have a lot of nerve putting out a new music video saying that the president is a KKK member and that members of his staff at home go home at night to their families and hang up their KKK robes. It's simply incredible because there's no proof, there's no truth to it. But on top of that, it's defamation, it's slander. It's an attempt to create race war that we know is in the WikiLeaks, where the Democrats talk about creating culture war and race war as a way to maintain control. But the biggest issue is the Daily Mail and others report that U2 is on record and Bono keeping 99% or more of the money from mainly African charities they run. So they have these big music telethons, broadcast worldwide. Sometimes they raise over $1 billion. They keep 99% personally. Bono's one foundation under fire for giving little over 1%. First it was 0.8. Now they give 1.2. Think about what a monster he is. But lowest black unemployment ever recorded. Trump targeting abortion, which targets mainly blacks, 52% being aborted. Trump trying to move factories back into the African-American areas. All that's the proof. Doesn't matter. Bono says he's KKK. Think about how that's a perfect cover for what he is really up to. Now, joining us is an amazing lady with billions of views of her videos and articles just on Facebook and Twitter alone. Most of you know who she is. I've followed her for years. And she's able to mobilize conservatives, libertarians, Christians, just people that are common sense, activist mommy, to be able to go look at what's happening in the schools where they're teaching children masturbation, where children's magazines are teaching little girls about anal sex so that they depopulate, just all sorts of incredible things. The latest thing is the promotion of sex toys to little girls and also prosthetic penises so that they can learn to be transgender. Even Camille Paglia, who's more of a liberal lesbian, says this is child abuse. Meanwhile, no leftist criticism of Turkish state moving to legalize marrying girls age 9, Netflix hosting shows about sex with children and how great it is, Salon pushing it. They're not getting banned from Twitter. She has been banned from Twitter. And we've been contacted by Twitter, and they said if you use the T word, you must use transgender. If you use the name that community created themselves, you will be banned. And I said to the guys, we documented it all, took the phone calls, recorded it, told them we were. I said, let's watch the process of this when there's new words. And they've called, there's new words. So what it is just training. And pretty soon they'll tell you what you got to do or you're gone. But we're making a documentary out of it, letting Twitter know that. We've infiltrated them, as you know, and Project Veritas has as well, where they go, oh, we do what the communist Chinese tell us and what the Democrats tell us, and we record women naked and we save it on our computers, ha, ha, ha. It's all very, very funny to them, and they're the new ruling class. They're the technocrats. So put into abstention, put into the memory hole. And people say, well, that's their own platform. But they're discriminatory. If the left sues you if you don't bake a gay couple's cake. I mean, I do it because I just think it's free market. But the point is, if you want to, it should be your right. Oh, that's a multi-$100,000 fine. But if you want to say you're a Christian and teaching 5-year-old girls how to have anal sex is wrong, you're banned. So the activist mommy, Elizabeth Johnston, joins us. Was it Twitter, Activist Mommy 1, Facebook, The Activist Mommy, Instagram, The Activist Mommy Official, YouTube, The Activist Mommy. And it's smart to have lots of platforms like she does. It's like whack-a-mole as they try to ban you. So much to get into, so much to talk about. I don't know if you saw Trump about an hour ago giving the first ever Republican speech to the Right to Life March. This is a pretty seismic deal, and they don't know what to do about Trump because it seems like he's breaking their will and giving everybody else the courage to stand against this cultural jihad to shut down free speech that the left's been on. So thanks for joining us.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me on.
But it's good to have you. Where do you want to start? I mean, the censorship, the latest sexualization of children, what's going on?
Oh, you tell me. I am banned for days. I did not use the T word.
You know, we're going to do something here. I know you do big videos and big shows all the time. That's probably on our end, but we're going to get your phone number. It's great to be able to see you on Skype. We're going to call you right back on backup and get you on that way because We're going to check our Skype system here or whatever. It's been having some issues. Seems to have to be better in that studio, but maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. We're going to figure that out and see if we can get her on air with us. But I mean, just think about this. I really just wanted to have her on because she's someone who's been put into a memory hole. She's someone who's been shot off into space. And you know InfoWars is next. You know Paul Watson's next. And we've got video of them saying, hey, we're censoring Jones on YouTube. We don't let people share the videos. You just got to go to his Alex Jones channel to find him. And if we see something trending, we block it. Because they know there's major lawsuit liability for them. So they have to act like they're still allowing us to be there. And they have the congressional hearings with the Twitter, Facebook, and Google executives where they're sitting there in everyone's face. But there's one way you can stop them. And that is to continue to support us on AM and FM stations, local TV stations more and more picking us up. That's our big push this year. We're getting some new satellites we'll announce the next month. And just as important as that, it's critical for you to financially support us. We've got some huge specials running right now. They're going to have to end very, very soon. We are selling out of Survival Shield X2, the good halogen with the True Atomic Nation Iodine, and Secret 12. That's the InfoWars Life Core Combo Pack, and it's 40% off, ladies and gentlemen. The InfoWars Life Core Combo Pack is 40% off right now. There's no reviews because we just launched a special yesterday, but both these items have thousands of 5-star reviews individually. An average, 96% score for X2 and Secret 12 by third-party sites like Power Reviews. So get your Survival Shield X2 and your Secret 12 at InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And without your support, we will not be here. So when you get a T-shirt, when you get a book, when you get an air filter, a water filter, when you get into the other materials that are there, thousands of great items, it makes it all possible. Here's a Survival Shield X2 review. Excellent to the max, says wrongfully accused hippies out of Maryland. Wow, we are so excited with this one. It is so vigorous, life-affirming taste. We always buy this as soon as we run out. Continuing, this is from Candace, undisclosed location. This stuff is the best. Never go a day without it. 5 stars, 5 stars. Clean and efficient product. Love it. 5 stars. And we just print the latest reviews just in order. We're not even cherry-picking these. Here's another one from Jarslaw, 5 stars. He's from an undisclosed location, verified purchaser. I purchased this one, and I am talking with some other supplements from InfoWars and working great, taste amazing, and now all my family is taking it every morning. That's on Secret 12. Here's another one. This is Never Felt Better, Charles, undisclosed. Here's another one, Leon, says, love the taste and very easy to take. They're all talking about Secret 12. People say, why does pure B12 taste so good? It's like a precursor to your whole body. You got to have it. X2 is just incredible. I take it in water and take it right under the tongue. And again, if you want to do something for yourself, more vitamin C and more high-quality iodine. You die without both of these, and vitamin C is plentiful. Iodine is just one of the things that people are so deficient in, and not the bound iodine, the sodium iodine, the other garbage out there, but the real iodine. We've got True Atomic Pure Iodine available at InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. Oh, and we have the new pollen block that folks are really loving. Check out Pollen Block. It's a Japanese quail egg. The quail are fed a special diet. They don't know why. It's so good for seasonal distress, you know, the stuff with the sinuses. Look at this report from LifeSite. Facebook says group wanting to burn alive Christian mom meets community standards, but she's banned from Twitter. So we're going to talk to a lady who's reached billions of people and who they're targeting and who's been banned from Twitter, the activist mommy, Elizabeth Johnston. So, Elizabeth, let's get into why you're so hated, why you're so feared, and why they're trying to ban you.
Hi, Alex. I'm so sorry about the technical problems we've had. Look, I don't toe the line, and I am pushing back against some of their pet agendas. I pushed back against the feminazis and the LGBT agenda and the slaughtering of children through abortion, brainwashing our children to think Islam is a religion of peace. These are the things that I address on my platform through articles and videos that I create. And, I am being censored frequently. I last year was banned from Facebook for first 3 days and then 7 days for quoting just simply what the Bible says about homosexuality. That was a worldwide story that hit Fox and Friends and Drudge Report and the New York Times, and of course Facebook apologized and said that it was an error once the story had gotten to be so big that it was a PR nightmare for them, and they restored my account back to me. And right now, there's a story going that there's a group on Facebook called "I Will Find Activist Mommy and Burn Whoever Runs It Alive." And people, hundreds, thousands of people have reported it. And Facebook said that that death threat does not go against their community standards, and they're not going to remove the group from Facebook.
It's amazing. And the same stuff happens to me. It happens to Trump. It happens to everybody who's prominently just promoting traditionalist values that are not being tolerated, that are under siege. And I noticed they let transgenders use the other T word that we can't use or we're banned. So it's also very discriminatory that term's in newspapers. And I was reading, it says, Wikipedia says Twitter decided in 2017 that it was a hate word, even though it's a word that comes from that very group. So even if we buckle under and only use words they use, they'll then tell us that we can't use a word, but they can. This is true authoritarianism.
It is George Orwell's 1984 for sure. The thing is, though, Alex, I don't use that term. And that's not why I'm banned from Twitter. The reason Twitter banned me is because I said that a transgender teenager who committed suicide, poor child, committed suicide, claimed it was because the high school that he attended did not allow him to change his sex, his name, until he was 16. That was the policy of the school, and supposedly that was the reason that this boy was so unhappy and committed suicide. I made the comment on Twitter with this article 4 months ago, Alex. 4 months ago, they just found this and decided to make an issue of it. I made the comment that the LGBT community is responsible and is harming transgender teenagers by not getting them the psychological and emotional help and counseling that they need. 40% of transgenders attempt to commit suicide versus 4% of the non-transgender, of the general population. And it clearly, transgenders need to get psychological and emotional counseling, and it's not being offered to them because the LGBT community is enabling these young people and is making them feel that they are entitled to their sex changes and their name changes. I made that type of a comment, and now I am banned from Twitter for 7 days. You know, they're in essence putting me through sensitivity training right now.
Wow. And expanding on that, the gay community, which I don't hate anybody, on average, diverse group of people, but on average, they have the highest level of suicide globally of any group. And it's not because folks are being mean to them, it's because that community is being mean to them. And I've seen the studies, I've witnessed it for myself. You know, I've had friends, family, neighbors that are gay. You go to their party, they're being meaner than hell to each other. I mean, it's, you know, a lot of gay people are really mean. And let's not lie about that. And let's not lie about how they treat each other and that lesbians have the highest level of abusing each other. And I don't hate women that like women. The whole point is they don't want to discuss why they have the highest rates of drug use, suicide. And then in that group, the transgenders are even bigger. And you've got them going into 4- and 5-year-olds in England, telling them you may be something else, and then having major mental illness problems. Well, of course, they are sexualizing children. It's a giant experiment. It's being run by the Tavistock Institute, and of course it's creating big problems. And you point out, as Camille Paglia does, who's a liberal and a professor, that this is abuse. It's abuse when you go to anybody and start sexualizing them at age 5, 6, 7, 8. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that really has drawn a lot of attention to my platform, I don't know if you heard about it last year, is that I burned a Teen Vogue magazine when Teen Vogue was teaching teenagers, kids, how to sodomize one another.
Oh, yeah. Tell folks about that.
Yeah, they printed a tutorial online of how to have anal sex. And I was livid, as were millions of parents. And so I filmed a quick 2-minute video, burned a Teen Vogue magazine, called it smut, and called upon the public to go to their stores and their libraries and make sure that Teen Vogue was not being carried, that it was being pulled from the shelves. We started hashtag Operation Pull Teen Vogue. And as you probably know, we gave Teen Vogue such a black eye that they have not recovered from it. And they actually had to shutter their print edition. December was their last print edition because we have really done such damage to their reputation.
And by the way, this, I totally agree, and you've done a great job. That's why they fear you. Look at how the Metro, the biggest paper in London, printed cartoons of children having sex and told parents to sexualize their children. We've got countless examples of this in the news, in the TV shows, on Netflix. This is clearly, in my view, a mainlining of pedophilic culture. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. If you, I'm sure you're familiar with the book written in, I believe, 1958 called The Naked Communist.
Yes.
And they lay out goals of the Communist Party USA, and one of their goals, number 40, is discredit the family as an institution, encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. Goal number 25 is break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. Our local law enforcement are cowards. Straight up cowards, because they will not enforce the good and decent obscenity laws that are on our books nationwide. Every state, every city has great obscenity laws, but no one is enforcing them. This has to stop. And now we have pornographic, grassy, gender-bending sex ed in our elementary schools and middle schools and high schools. That's why we started something called Sex Ed Sit Out. And I want to ask all of your listeners, please, to go to Facebook right now. A bunch of us moms have started a movement called Sex Ed Sit Out. And on April 23rd, we are going to pull our children out of the public schools in protest of the pornographic sex ed in the schools. Please go to Facebook search bar at the top and type in Sex Ed Sit Out and like our page and get involved in our movement. Well,
please come back on for that as soon as we get our Skype fixed or yours or whatever it is, or phone, because absolutely we see this big pushback against this all over the world. And they always said, oh, you're just ignorant. You're like Amish or something. You don't want people knowing about their body parts. Give me a break. They are sexualizing. They are trying to teach young people deviant fetish behavior because the left has fetishized sexualizing children. Even Salon, even the New York Times are promoting pedophilia. That is the bottom of the rabbit hole. I want to come back in 2 minutes, do 5 more minutes with the activist Mommy about where she sees the state of the fight today. I'm Alex Jones, newswars.com, infowars.com. A lot of huge news there. The way those articles get out is you spreading them. I know you know that, but I want to remind you, we're in a war. We need you. We're winning, but it's all up to you. We'll be back. We've been under globalism. Our country was under TPP, really was lost its sovereignty. Trump's turning that around. Pretty soon we'll have to not play those liners anymore because they won't be accurate. But we're in the middle of a civil war right now. What an amazing lady. Daria, one of our producers, said, why don't you get activist Mommy on? And I go, oh, I've been watching her for years. That lady's really on point. She leads all these major attacks and they're wanting her dead now. I said, absolutely. So I want to get her on anytime she wants to come on. Just an amazing individual. And I wanted to ask her in this short segment before Peter Schiff joins us on the economy and before Roger Stone breaks major news on what's going on behind the scenes with FISA and how Obama was behind that. He broke that in April of last year. So next year's news today, that's coming up. But I wanted to get activist mommy Elizabeth Johnson to talk more about where she sees the battle now. And again, we're not flogging it. The sleeping majority of everybody out there, every race, color, and creed that loves just being decent and trying to not be overtaken by the leftist agenda, we have to get aggressive. We have to get out in the field. We have to take action. So where are we right now at this juncture, this fight, and you're really expert, embattled, frontline view, and what can people do in the culture war?
Well, Alex, as you're saying, the radical left has waged war against the natural family, you know, father and mother and child, and has waged war against really all things decent. And we must wake up as a culture, as parents, and push back against this indoctrination. You know, one person burned a Teen Vogue magazine, and look at the shockwaves. Look at what happened. One person pushing back in your sphere of influence, whether it's going to your city council meeting and saying, no, we're not going to have men in the girls' locker room. Whatever God is calling you to do, use the voice and the passion that he's given you and answer that call and push back against this attack on the family, the attack on decency, the attack on everything that's made America good. And let's work together to make America great again. I mean, ultimately, you know, this is a spiritual problem that we have in this nation. We need to return to our Creator. We need to turn from our sin and our selfishness, and we need to get back to the way the founding fathers believed our nation should be run, as one nation under God.
You're right. And again, they use our strength against us, that America is open, Christianity is tolerant. And then they've gone from tolerance to now we have to adopt all the things that the left's doing, including hundreds of new bizarre fetishes that are even being taught in school, like being married to a car, having sex with a car, or burning your eyeballs out with Drano, and then the government pays for you to be blind, or paying to have sex changes. I mean, I don't pay for people's nose jobs. How did we ever get in this position of just these people dictating everything to us? And not even the average leftist, but these would-be cultural kings.
Oh, yeah, you're so right. I mean, Alex, facts and science and truth matter.
Yes.
And because I say 2 + 1 = 5 doesn't make it true. And, you know, this trendy new phrase that people want to say, gender is binary and it's on a spectrum. No. Biologically, scientifically, we are XX or XY, or we have a disorder. We have an abnormality, either a biological or a psychological abnormality, and we need treatment. Look, what I say, Alex, is we just need some straight talk from American citizens and from the mom and dads of the world, and that's why people follow me, is I just shoot straight. This is stupid. This gender insanity junk is one of the stupidest moments.
As you know, they're firing professors that just point out men and women in the whole mammal species have these chromosomes. It's crazy. Activist mommy, please join us again very soon. God bless you, and good luck with all your work. And thank God for our great president today with what we saw at that pro-life march. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. We are back live, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Stone's joining us at the bottom of the hour. He was the first to report on Obama using Fusion GPS to basically illegally, fraudulently get warrants against candidate Trump, nominee Trump, President-elect Trump, and then I guess ongoing when he was the president. Trump knew about it as the president. He said, it's classified, I can't tell you, but they've spied on me. And we broke all that news last year. CNN attacked us, you name it, said it wasn't true. And now members of Congress that have seen the memo say it's Obama directly ordering it. And just like in the other memos, they say we got to stop Trump. They admit it's a fraud. It's the arrogance of narcissistic criminals that always brings them down. Their boldness is something that makes them successful. And the fact that they leave a trail of destruction behind them and ruin every business they're in or family, they don't care because they're just on to the next scam. So we're dealing with narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, and then mercenaries that'll work for them. And they just ruin civilization. So that's coming up at the bottom of the hour. Peter Schiff of Europac.com, American businessman, investor, broker, billions under management. I'm not going to get into his bio. Everybody knows him, best-selling author, run for Senate, things like that. Was Ron Paul's chief economic advisor. Always like getting him on. I wanted to get him on about the fact that I predicted that if Trump got in, we'd see the economy explode. Because, I mean, I knew we had artificial globalist policies in place suppressing our economy. And I know the whole world's a bubble and all the rest of it, but if you remove the rope tied around us at the dock on the boat, it's going to start running out there into the ocean. Now, I know that China's a big bubble and we're a big bubble, but I got to tell you, we've had some debates here with Mr. Schiff, who's also believed that there was some chances of big growth. And then we've had some other folks who didn't think that, thought there's no way because of demographic cliffs. And I get demographic cliffs, but if you've got things artificially suppressed here and then built up there, then if Trump comes in and removes a bunch of regulations and taxes, won't that at least in the interim boost things? And I think you're seeing that. Krugman said it would never get above 3%. It's at 3.3. You see Trump giving his #1 award to the New York Times for betting against America. So I agree the fundamentals are crazy. I'm not an economist. You know, I just study this stuff. And at the same time, aren't you glad things haven't blown up yet? The question is, will they? What's going to happen? And then what's happening with cryptocurrencies? Seeming like that bubble is starting to bust as regulators start to go after them. So we'll find out about this and a lot more from Peter Schiff at Europac.com. Peter, good to have you back with us.
Thanks for having me on, and Happy New Year to you and your audience. And, you know, I agree with you. The economy is going to blow up, but, you know, it's going to blow up like a bomb. It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. You know, unfortunately, that's what Trump has inherited from Obama. But it's not even really just Obama. It's the Federal Reserve. It's the monetary policy that has been passed like a baton from Clinton to Bush to Obama and now to Trump. And we're near the end of the game. And unfortunately, Trump's going to be the fall guy. This thing is all going to collapse while he's president. And he owns the stock market bubble. He and the Republicans own the economy now, thanks to these tax cuts. They're not going to make any difference, but they are going to give the Democrats a reason to blame it all on Trump and the Republicans. But we are getting closer to this collapse. You mentioned GDP growth. Last year, the economy, the way they measure it, GDP, will probably end up being a little bit above 2.5% for the year, which is about the same as we were getting, you know, a little bit better maybe than the average of the last 4 years under Obama. But there were years that Obama had higher than that. But the important thing is, if you look at what's happening in the dollar, for example, last year was the first year in 5 years that the dollar went down, and it was the biggest decline in 14 years. We had the biggest drop against the Chinese yuan in 9 years. And in fact, I think this year we're going to fall to an all-time record low against the yuan. I think we're going to hit record lows against other major currencies like the euro and the yen, maybe by 2019 or 2020. Look at the bond market. We're at about a 4-year high now in 10-year treasuries. But bond prices are rising. Look at oil. Oil's now back at $63, $64 a barrel. We've had a huge increase, but we're just getting started. Gold is on the verge of breaking out, hasn't really done it yet. We're still trading around $13.40. But what's happening is inflation is rearing its ugly head in a big way, and this is going to help push up interest rates. And what Trump has done, or the Republicans with these tax cuts, they're not going to help the economy because the economy has so many other headwinds that are going to hit it. But they are going to push up the deficit. The budget deficits are going to soar. The trade deficits are at record highs. They're going to soar. These rising twin deficits, increasing interest rates. It's reminiscent of 1987 before the market crash. But the problem is we are more dependent now than we ever have been. The Federal Reserve made the mistake of creating a huge bubble economy that completely depends on extremely low interest rates to survive.
Peter, let's come back to that in a moment. Let's come back to the moment. I agree with you on the fundamentals, and you predicted a lot of things accurately before, but this is what I'm getting at. What was Trump supposed to do when they already had it planned to go down, admittedly, when Hillary got in and kind of organize our collapse and use that for social control? What is Trump supposed to do when he's trying to end globalist control, end TPP, stabilize the border, get people believing in humanity again, doing a lot of really good positive things to return sovereignty? He's using a bubble against their bubble, and I see a lot of these policies actually deploying money back to the people, the average family, $13,000. Yeah,
Alex, this is going to backfire. He's like the Jimmy Carter in reverse. I think we're going to have an extremely liberal president, either a Bernie Sanders or someone like him in 2020. What Trump should have done is leveled with the American people, like he kind of did when he was a candidate. He talked about how bad things were, but he didn't really say what needed to be done to fix it. But at least he said, we have a bubble in the stock market. You know, the economy is a mess. I mean, all that was true, and that's why he got elected. But after he got elected, he became a cheerleader for the very economy that he correctly criticized. And now he has set everybody up. He has raised everybody's expectations so high that when everything comes crashing down, not only will he get blamed, but everyone's going to be disappointed. What he should have done the moment he was sworn in is he should have leveled with everybody and said, you know what? This is a disaster. It is a mess. I am going to fix this, but it's not going to be fun. The medicine that we're going to swallow right now is not going to taste good.
But here's the problem. He knows the people were already demoralized by the globalists, by Obama, and all this other crud. And, you know, you're saying, oh, the economy's not really growing any faster, you know, than on Obama. Well, it does show 3.3%. And everybody I know is seeing a difference, record low black unemployment. I mean, I think exuberance can bring us out of this and break the back of the globalist and show that they were the ones suppressing things, and then we can reorganize things. I agree, you're absolutely right about the Federal Reserve and all of it, but man, if he came in here and tanked the stock market with a reset like you're talking about, they'd really be able to impeach his butt.
No, he campaigned and said it was a bubble. It wasn't his bubble. Now it's his bubble, that's the problem. But if he would have said it's a bubble and it's going down, it wouldn't have been his fault, because part of the cure for the economy is deflating these bubbles. It has to be done. Someone has to rip this Band-Aid off. And he was elected to do it.
Well, isn't he doing that with isn't he doing that, getting rid of the write-off for state income tax and for property tax?
No, he's not coming close to doing that. These are gimmicky tax cuts that run up the deficit. They are not real tax cuts because we're not having cuts in government spending. You said we have record low black unemployment. Black unemployment was falling under Obama, too, because blacks were leaving the labor force. And that hasn't changed. You have record low labor force participation rate. Hardly any blacks are working, I mean, percentage-wise. So that's why they're not unemployed. Look how many are in prison. So this is not some kind of success.
Now, wait a minute. Black unemployment almost doubled under Obama.
The unemployment rate doubled for everybody at the beginning because, you know, and then it started to come down. But the reason it came down was because so many people left the labor force and so many people accepted crappy, low-paying part-time jobs. And that is what's going on. That hasn't changed under Trump.
All right. Well, listen, anybody accuses me of being a cheerleader for the economy, this is the balancing of it out. I hope Peter Schiff's wrong. He's a smart guy. What's going to happen then? How will the implosion look? I mean, let's war game that when we come back. All right, Peter Schiff is our guest. He's made a lot of accurate predictions over the years. But I want to positively say he's made some that didn't come true. I totally agree with what he's saying about a big bubble and, you know, the stock market mainly helping really wealthy people, except it makes them bring new jobs here, hire more folks, raise wages. We are seeing thousands of companies come back. I think we're seeing some positive things. But he's basically up here saying that there's a giant bubble. Well, you just heard him earlier, if you were tuned in, that Trump's helped pump it up now and that he's going to be the fall guy when it implodes, discrediting capitalism and bringing in basically a communist. Is that what you're getting at, Mr. Schiff, A? And then B, how will the bubble go down in different scenarios, and how far will the market go down if your scenario's right? Because I'll be honest with you, it gets a little scary when the market's gaining 1,000 points in a week. I mean, that does kind of get me a little concerned.
Yeah, you know, this is the same thing that happened under George W. Bush, right? He inherited a bubble. Instead of leveling with the American public, he pretended everything was great. And then the bigger bubble that was inflated while he was president collapsed, except that he got a second term. because his bubble didn't really pop until the end of his second term. I think Trump's is going to pop during his first term because this one is much bigger and we don't have as much time. But here's how it's going to go down. So what's going to happen is interest rates are going to keep rising. Commodity prices are going to keep rising. The dollar is going to keep falling. So you're going to start to see pickups in the official inflation rate. And so rising consumer prices and rising interest rates are going to start to be a powerful headwind for the economy, because Americans are going to be spending a lot more money on basic necessities, on if they have an adjustable rate mortgage, costs are going up, credit card debt, auto loans, all this cheap money is going to be gradually going away, and the economy is going to be weakening. And as the economy is weakening, unemployment is going to start to pick up. Now, the Fed's going to see this. The Fed's going to see the economy slowing down, and if they continue to raise rates, it will go into recession. Now, that is better than the alternative. But the alternative, if the Federal Reserve decides that they want to prevent a recession or maybe fight off a recession if it happens and they don't recognize it in time, if they want to prop up the stock market, then what they have to do is call off the rate hikes. In fact, I think they have to go back to zero. They have to launch QE4 in order to keep interest rates from really spiking and to prop up the market. But that will set off a currency crisis. The dollar will plunge, not just make new lows, but destroy the old lows. And that will set off an economic crisis that's far worse than the financial crisis or the recession.
Okay, well, let me throw this at you then. They say China, some numbers, 5, 6, 7, 8 times the amount of state-sponsored pumping money into it. They execute you if you criticize the markets over there. China's going to lower their taxes to basically zero to incentivize companies to stay. How can China's bubble just continue to go up and up and up and up and up when they've got all their problems? And then you're saying that our bubble isn't going to work. I mean, I really hope you're wrong, because they've got news articles out there where they call the stock market and say, wow, why'd the market jump? Well, Jones came out and said Comey admitted, Trump not under criminal investigation. Well, he really did say that. But, I mean, I know this show actually affects markets, and I get it's all a house of cards, but good Lord, man, if they've got house of cards that are much, much bigger and out of control over in China, I don't like trying to pull the house of cards down.
Well, remember, China now has, record trade surpluses. We have record deficits. The Chinese people save 30% of what they earn. We barely save 3%. Our savings rate's at a 10-year low. The Chinese government isn't in debt. They have assets. They got trillions and trillions of dollars of assets. We have liabilities.
They're the biggest owners of our debt, aren't they?
They own our debt, but they own other debt. But they don't have Social Security. They don't have Medicare. They don't have all these unfunded liabilities the way we do. Chinese rely on themselves. Americans rely on the government. We have got a much bigger bubble. They actually have a vibrant economy. Yes, there are problems in that economy, but a lot of it has to do with their misguided efforts to prop up the dollar so they can keep selling Americans products that we can't afford and that we'll never pay for.
By the way, Peter, I'm not being critical of this, because I think investors should invest wherever they like. I know you're Euro-Pacific capital, and I know you're all about investing all over the world, but are you betting on America having a downturn because you've got more foreign investments?
I am, and actually, a lot of our strategies have beaten the U.S. market over the last 2 years, despite the fact that it's gone up, and we're beating it again in a lot of strategies this year, because the dollar is so weak. That gives you a huge tailwind when now you're investing internationally. So for all the years the dollar was strengthening, that was eating away at international returns. But the dollar is about to lose all of that strength and then some. So now, if you're bullish on the stock market, there's no reason to be invested in the U.S. market. We're going to make so much more money, and we are making much more money in emerging markets, right? In commodities.
But in your modeling, lower dollar brings back more manufacturing jobs.
No, it doesn't. The lower dollar is going to bring record high trade deficits because it's going to increase what we have to pay to import the things that we can't.
Peter, I got to say though, man, I think betting against America, I just have a gut feeling that the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray.
I'm not betting against America. I'm betting against the socialists and the central bankers who have destroyed America. In the long run, maybe America is going to come back. But first, we're going to have to pay the piper. This is a gigantic bubble. Trump was right when he was a candidate. The air is coming out.
No, I know. Trump sounded like you as a candidate. And then they got mad at him saying, the real estate's too high. All this stuff hurts average families. You're right. But I'm just saying, being right intellectually is good. But, I mean, you're a successful, wealthy guy. The average family and hardworking people that are working 2-3 jobs, a collapse is going to, at least in the short term, hurt them bad.
No, but it's going to happen now anyway. It's going to happen worse. When the dollar collapses, it wipes out the middle class. People are going to be impoverished, and they're going to blame Trump. You know, there are a lot of people who voted for Trump out of frustration. He promised a lot. He talked big. He is not going to deliver, and that is going to be used against him. And it's going to ultimately be used against the country. Wait till you see how bad things get. You know, these tax cuts, they're all temporary. They're all going away in 2021. What do you think the Democrats are going to do when they have the White House and both houses of Congress? How high do you think they're going to jack taxes up on corporations? What do you think they're going to do to entrepreneurs? This is a disaster. We had a chance to diffuse this if Trump would have owned up to the problems of the economy. They weren't his fault. He could have blamed it all on his predecessor, and he could have finally put politics aside and done the right thing for this country. Instead, he acted just like all the other presidents who have just, continued to kick the can down the road.
Well, I don't think he acted like all of them on social issues, like marching with pro-life. Nobody's done that. The border, the veterans. I mean, he's really delivering on a lot of fronts.
No. I'm talking about big cuts to government spending, dealing with entitlements, getting in and cutting Social Security and Medicare so we don't have massive...
No, I agree. That's got to start. There's been some cutting.
No, there hasn't been. The government spending is growing under Bush. Under Trump. They're not cutting anything. They're increasing spending, and they're reducing revenues to finance that spending. That means the government is going to rely on inflation and debt to finance even
but
bigger...
models show these type of tax cuts a lot of times bring in higher tax receipts.
They're not going to do that. They never do that. They're not going to be... The tax receipts won't be enough to cover the decline, but meanwhile, the economy is going to fall. Higher interest rates and higher consumer prices, which are a consequence.
Well, Peter,
are going to be a bigger drag on the economy. Than
we got to have you back up soon then to really flesh this out. Wow, man, I feel like jumping off a cliff now. No, I won't. Seriously, I'll never commit suicide. Hillary, don't get me. I was just joking. All right, Peter Schiff. If he's right, it'll be a great time for investors to buy stuff up. Like the communist Chinese. We'll be back. Tomorrow's news today. Next year's news today. I'm quite honest about this. I like Roger Stone. I've known him about 3 years. Man, I met him at a JFK event like 7 years ago. Known who he is for over a decade. He's a best-selling author, a whole bunch of best-selling books, but I knew he worked in a bunch of administrations. But this is not a butt-kissing operation. When listeners think that I'm talking about how we're tomorrow's news today to just keep tooting our horn, the globalists want to control narratives. They know what's really going on. It's not that hard once you get studied and get your mind in the game to know what's really going on. They just don't want anybody saying it so they can keep people in the dark. But we have our listeners, we have our guests, we have our crew. All of us together, our private intelligence network promoting Americana and freedom. And you heard Peter Schiff earlier about this big bubble we're in and this and that. And he's heavily invested in China, which is fine. And he thinks that that's going to beat the American economy. He'd like America to reform. I get it. But Trump is delivering in this bubble real incentives, real jobs, real buildup in this country. And culturally, he's not allowing them to censor. He's trying to block them. He's promoting pro-life. He's promoting taking care of the veterans, sovereignty, tax cuts for families, like Putin's done, so people have more kids. I really don't see any fault in this man. And everybody wants to kill him or destroy him because they're playing along with it. And it's easy to take the middle road because things are so volatile. I'm betting on America. I'm betting on Trump. And I'm not going to let him break my will, especially not now that he did that pro-life march that no Republican would ever do and called for the states to take control of the situation, which is constitutional, and for an end to partial birth abortion. The other presidents don't do that. The other Republicans don't. We are breaking their back. So the money is a side issue. And it is all crazy town. But I look at what Trump's doing. He's taking this mess and trying to get stuff to the people and trying to make it cool to have a job and work and be honorable. Now, that said, that's where I stand. And so I'm just going to continue to even support more. Now, getting back to Roger Stone. Roger Stone, we looked it up in January. in February, in March, in April, in May, in June, until the point I said, stop it. Said the key is the illegal getting of the FISA warrant, the fake dossier, the targeting, them lying about it, perjuring to Congress, Comey saying Trump is crazy, quote, insane. The key is that we have them open and shut beyond Nixonian, who he worked for. In fact, the only member of the so-called plumbers to not go to jail because he wasn't involved. The point is that Roger is absolutely the person that broke this, all of this, and now Congress, Jim Jordan, Gates, who I know Roger helped get elected, is saying they've seen it, Obama ran it, devastating, they're going to prison. They said major officials are going to prison. They said because they're so dumb, like the memos reportedly had them going, we can't let him get in. He's bad. Let's make stuff up. We need an insurance policy. It's the same. It's the president saying it. And Rice and all them. So, Stone, you have been absolutely on target like nobody else I know. It's just true. It's true. I mean, I really respected you before, but it's getting crazy how accurate we are. Without getting into sources and things, because obviously you didn't just pull this out of your rear end, you have advised the president the whole time this is the proper course. So what's the next shoe to drop? Because, I mean, this is amazing, the crimes they've committed.
Well, Alex, it's the biggest abuse of power that we've ever seen in American history by any president. It makes what happened in Watergate pale in comparison. Essentially, Barack Obama, working with the Clintons, doctored up a phony dossier to use it as a rationale to convince the FISA court to issue warrants to conduct political espionage on the Republican candidate for president and his campaign. That is a constitutional crisis like we have never had. And now they are busted red-handed. Back when Circa News first reported that 30,000 Americans were illegally under surveillance, and the court had even admonished the NSA not to do it, that it violated the Fourth Amendment, and they did it anyway. The great lesson of Watergate, as you know, Alex, is no person is above the law. Well, we're about to find out, because Mr. Clapper, Mr. Brennan, Ms. Rice, Valerie Jarrett, this list goes on and on of the co-conspirators. They need to see jail time. Our Constitution isn't some joke. We're a nation of laws, and they cheated to try to steal an election.
That's right. I know some of it was sources, but the president obviously never told you classified information. But once he got in, he knew he was being spied on. He even said that. The boldness of them on CNN, on MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, you and I by name, already played the clips twice today. I'm not going to play them again, saying Jones and Stone are liars. They're the source to the president. They were being spied on. No, they said when he was president-elect they were spying on him. Then they pulled that back and said they weren't, and then acted like they never said it. I mean, the level of lying in plain view is crazy.
No, remember when they asked Clapper about this under oath, he started dissembling, saying, well, it's too sensitive, I can't talk about it. Of course, that's why we have congressional hearings. They are so busted, Alex. And the arrogance of it all revolved around the fact that since Hillary was going to surely win, there'd be no exposure on their emails.
That was the arrogance. They were sure. Where is it? I've got it around here. Where's my Madam President? I guess they already hung it back up. They were so sure of the Madam President that why not just do whatever they want and run roughshod? Because they were planning to shut down the press, arrest everybody. I mean, they told folks they were coming after us as soon as they got in. They were going to go full authoritarian. Oh, there it is. I didn't see it there. They were going to go full authoritarian, but it didn't work, did it? I mean, this is epic.
And the dissembling and the look at the USA Today headline that says Trump claim of wiretapping debunked. No, it wasn't debunked. In fact, Judge Andrew Napolitano was right on the money when he said that Trump had been spied on. So it is amazing how the worm has turned. And I think, in all honesty, huge credit has to go to Congressman Jim Jordan, Congressman Matt Gaetz, Congressman DeSantis. These guys have done a great job. They have been dogged while the country club Republicans were too busy at their cocktail parties talking about how embarrassing Donald Trump is. These guys understood their constitutional duty as members, and they have, and Trey Gowdy should be added as well.
That's right. They were not sunshine patriots.
No, they were fighters. They know why they got to Congress. They didn't get to Washington and get lost in the system and decide that it's go along to get along. They weren't afraid to make waves. I think huge credit's got to go to those guys.
And Nunes, too. All of them are presidential material now.
But at the same time, someone needs to examine Adam Schiff, because he appears to be part of a cover-up. How is it that every Democrat on the Intelligence Committee voted against the release of these materials? How is it that no Democratic member of the House has bothered to go to a special room that they've set up where you can examine those documents?
By the way, that's the next question. Nunes, Jordan, they're all trying to get it released. Just release it. I mean, we know, what's the word on what's in that file?
Well, what we know, Alex, is that they went to the FISA court in July asking for the surveillance of Trump and his team, myself included. And they were shocked when the judge said no. Then they came back several months later. They didn't tell a different judge that the court had already denied this. That's the key. And they buffaloed him into approving it. And then they were actually laughing about how dumb the judge was afterwards. So it's the connecting of the dots between the phony dossier and the government funding of that after it passed from Republican hands.
It's the organized criminality of what they did there, paying for it, lying to Congress. Comey and all of them said that they weren't involved and said it was insane. I mean, there's that whole other area.
Yeah, you've had perjury in front of the Congress, most definitely on the part of Comey extensively. He sat in the same seat that I sat in front of the House Intelligence Committee, and he lied his derriere off.
But it's okay. He's about to teach a course on ethics.
Yeah, from prison.
But seriously, let's talk about when is this going to come out and what does it say? The word is it's got Obama on it. Obama actually basically ordered the judge to do it. We'll be right back. Well, talking to Roger Stone, he just got invited to speak to the Oxford Union. I was invited to speak to that. I was in the middle of a contentious divorce, so I just couldn't go. I couldn't do it. I had to be with my children. But I do want to probably re-accept that. Of course, there was other invitations that were accompanying that were more secretive. And then Cambridge invited me right after. That's kind of two warring factions, little bit of the whole underground stuff that goes on that I'm not involved in. That's another reason I've not gotten involved in it all. There's a lot of old secret societies. We'll just leave it at that. But Roger Stone joins us right now, ladies and gentlemen, and just recapping the bombshell news. Then I want to get into why in heavens would Trump agree, as they're saying he is, to meet with Mueller unless it's to chew him out and interrogate him about how he got a Justice Department waiver to be in business with the Russians and to chew him out about how he colluded with Hillary. I mean, I wouldn't answer any of his questions. If it's to dress him down and to maybe videotape it, then I would do it. Why in Hades would Trump meet with him?
You know, Alex, I had dinner with our mutual friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano, the other night, and he put it best. This is a perjury trap. The president would have to have a death wish to walk into such a one-sided inquiry. It's almost suicidal. I don't understand why the president, his lawyer said they're now negotiating over his testimony. I am praying that he will change his mind. It's just not in his interest. But what it proves, once again, is that having run the whole gamut on Russian collusion and found nothing, we're back to the firing of Comey again as the pretext for Trump's impeachment. Oh, he obstructed justice or he perjured himself. Well, don't give it to them, Mr. President. They need you to incriminate yourself. That's what they're going to try to trick you into doing, saying something that they can twist. I am praying that the president changes his mind.
Well, he just knows he hadn't done anything, so he thinks, why not? They'll make something up. He's got to videotape the whole thing. I mean, Comey made up memos, said he didn't, perjured himself. This is a group created by Clinton's people, by Rosenstein. It's a joke. They should all be arrested, and that's my next question. What is the next shoe to drop with Jordan and Gates and all of them saying Nexus criminal charges for high-level officials? I know we don't like to have internal stuff like this. It could trigger a civil war. The Democrats are already pushing a civil war. I mean, we have to smash these criminals now. And I know it's dangerous to go up against these thugs and say that on air. Whatever, somebody's got to do it. They're never going to go away. You don't have Hitler start World War II, and then in 1945, when you're closing in on Berlin, let him go ahead and stay in Berlin. You know he's going to reconstitute and attack again. You got to get him.
Well, what I learned yesterday, Alex, is that Rod Rosenstein, the de facto attorney general of this country, left a time bomb. They had the president sign a document that changed the order of succession, the order of authority at the Justice Department. So in other words, if the president ordered Jeff Sessions to appoint a special counsel in Uranium One and he declined, he would need to resign. It would then go to Rosenstein. Well, that's a dead letter, but if the president fired Rosenstein, it now doesn't go to the Solicitor General, as it did under Nixon in the Archibald Cox filing. It goes to a woman named Nancy Brands, a deep stater, a Bushite. Then it goes to another Bushite. Then it goes to another Bushite. The president would have to get 6 deep in his own administration.
So they're preparing shark teeth of BS to just continually work against him in the country. Well, then what does he do about a manifest fraud like that? I mean, this organized Clinton cabal that's still involved in mutinous hijacking.
Well, I would fire Jeff Sessions immediately, and I'd get myself a fighting attorney general.
So let's be clear, Sessions did this. Sessions just enabled the Clintonoids to stay in power.
Yeah, and basically, I'm sure they said, we're making some structural changes at the Justice Department, Mr. President, just sign this. It's unimportant. It's just unimportant.
And they go, by the way, McCabe's your best friend. He's real reasonable when he led the cabal against you. And exactly. It's like, McCabe likes you, sir. He's very fair. And then McCabe's leading the cabal against you. They don't tell him that.
It's time for 5 a.m. raids at their apartments to seize their computer records. Mueller, Comey, McCabe, and Rosenstein all need government visits from the FBI. There's very honest men and women who work at the agency at the lower levels. The rotten crowd is at the top. This place needs a house cleaning desperately.
Well, I know you and Dr. Jerome Corsi have amazing FBI contacts. You helped round up in the 80s a big Russian network and everything else. You were working for Nixon and all these other anti-communists. You're well known for that. You know a lot of FBI agents. What is the word from them on what's happening and going on?
Well, now they're cheering. Most of the agents that I know were dejected during this election. They knew exactly what was going on and they hated it, but they're company men and they're mid-level and low-level men and women. Now, many of them are very pleased to see Peter Strzok and his lover about to get their just desserts and to see that the false clothing of Mr. Comey and Mr. Mueller has been ripped away. And we can see that this whole cabal is just a partisan hit squad of Trump haters. They have no regard for law and the Constitution.
Well, that's my next question. Who is going to go to prison? Because you don't usually hear these congressmen and women saying folks are going to prison. The stuff in this memo is 50 times worse is what they're saying than what was in the emails and texts where they're like, let's frame the president. I mean, that's incredible proof right there. If this is way worse and just insane, they're saying, what's the word? Do you have any intel? And who's going to get indicted?
Well, I think the key thing for people to understand is this is the use of the U.S. government's authority and power for purposes of partisan political espionage. 10 times worse than what happened in Watergate. And I have to believe that this goes all the way to Obama. There's no way that the Obama NSA was wiretapping Americans, surveilling Americans, without the authority of Obama himself, which means Valerie Jarrett knew, which means Susan Rice knew, Brennan, Clapper, right on down the line. This entire nest of criminals needs to be indicted, convicted, tried, and sent away. We are a nation of laws. Let me remind you, liberals, once again, no person is above the law. Sound familiar?
You're going to host about 20 minutes the next hour, and then Leanne McAdoo is going to be riding shotgun with you. So we'll be right back to Roger Stone in the 4th hour. I've got a bunch of emergency issues to deal with, some good, some bad, and some very ugly. So I will not be hosting the 4th hour, and Roger's got big news that he is about to be on top of as well. So more with Roger Stone coming up in a few minutes. Remember, they are working around the clock. They are working around the clock to block us, shut us down, you name it, okay? And when the history books are written, we'll tell you about the behind-the-scenes stuff, but we can't do that, obviously, because the enemy's watching and it helps them. Just know this. We need your prayers. We need your support. We need everything. Roger Stone's going to come back in 2.5 minutes after this break. Before I go any further, I hardly even plug. I didn't even plug in the first hour. That's my fault. If I plug enough, we can fund ourselves. I get so obsessed with the info, I'll skip breaks, you name it. I just need you to go, hey, Alex has delivered. He's standing up. He's under attack. He's fighting for us. We're fighting for him. He's got great supplements. He's got great non-GMO heirloom seeds and water filters and books and videos and T-shirts and you name it. Let's go spend some time economically getting great products at great prices and supporting the info war. We got a big nut to crack because I understand equilibrium. We're not going to stay the same. We're going to either shrink or get bigger. And if we shrink, we'll be destroyed. I need to surge this year. That means I've already told my wife I'm going to have to start working 18 hours a day again, no matter what it does to my body. And even though I love my children more than anything, at least week on, week off, when my children 1 week on and off with my ex-wife, some of them, I'm going to work 18 hours a day. I'm going to work 12 hours a day the other times when they're home. And so you're about to see my full commitment. I am preparing to go into absolute maniac mode. Like I'm dying if I don't win because I'm going to die if we don't win. All of us are going to be screwed over by these control freaks. And so just commit to spread the articles, the videos. Commit to go to InfoWarsStore.com. We have a big sale that's going to have to end when it sells out. Okay, we sold out of a lot of items because it was the end of year. We have two of our best sellers we order a ton of, but they're getting close to selling out. Survival Shield X2, the good halogen, purest iodine from our research out there. Secret 12, incredibly high quality vitamin B12. BuzzFeed tested it and said, okay, it is the highest quality B12 in the country. And because they showed the one they said was the highest quality, and they said, well, ours is okay. Well, ours is private label, the highest, what they rated as the highest quality. So shove that, you know where. So there you go. Secret 12 and Survival Shield X2, 40% off together. Right now at InfoWarsStore.com. Pollen Block's our latest product. Go read about the Japanese quail, the special diet in France, what it's known to do for seasonal distress and the pollen and all the stuff with the inflammation and the watering eyes and the sneezing. It's amazing what it's doing for me during this whole cedar season. It's incredible. It's 51% off out of the gates, $17.76. Just commit to shop with the good guys and we'll change the world. If you make the decision to support us, we'll be here and bigger than ever. If not, we'll go down swinging, and we can hold out probably 2-3 years. So because we're long game war here. We've got it all algorithmed out. Commit now to support us, or we'll be a great example like the Alamo for the bigger victory. Either way, it's God's plan. All right, the often amazing, always incredible Leanne McAdoo is coming up in the next segment. Final segment with Roger Stone because he's got big breaking things he has to beaver away at. He'll be back on the War Room at 3 o'clock today in 1 hour Central. Newswars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. I barely plugged during the show today because the bigger the news day, the more big things are happening. I just can't get focused on it, but we need to fund our operation. You talk about Brain Force, you talk about the products you love, Roger, but separate from that, clearly we're delivering on Bringing Back America. Clearly we're under attack. And I'm not bitching. I'm just letting folks know we're under attack because we're telling the truth. We've changed the world here. But all the things, Obama's lawyers suing you, all the attacks, I mean, they're trying to destroy us. This is total war. So I want to thank the listeners for their support as we enter 2018. But I want to just remind them, as I told you on election night, man, yeah, I'm glad Trump got elected. Now the fight is on. Because we've got to make sure this success happens. He gets that too. Or they're going to destroy his name, our name. They're going to demonize capitalism, Christianity. This is the big battle right now. And a lot of folks are betting on China. They're hoping this stalls out. They're hoping to get a Jimmy Carter type elected if, you know, in a few years if this thing stalls. So this is a total death battle. So let's do that call to arms for support, Roger, in your own words, for InfoWarsStore.com. Because we need folks to commit.
You know what I'm finding, Alex, is that a lot of people are really liking the expanded programming. David Knight in the morning with Real News, the War Room that Owen Schroyer and I are doing together, and of course they love to tune in for you. None of this is possible without listener and viewer support. As I say almost every day, some people have the impression that we have rich right-wing fat cats writing checks to subsidize our operations, and that's not true. We depend solely on our listeners and viewers and the patriots out there who support what we do, who support our mission, and who know we don't have any corporate sponsors in the background saying, oh, no, Alex, you can't report that.
Well, I noticed Breitbart got the fat cats, and some of them are good or whatever, but notice there was treachery in Machiavelli. We get zero of that here, zero.
We have total independence at InfoWars, but that's because the people we work for are the people who buy these products. We don't have any one person who determines what's said on InfoWars other than the editor-in-chief. This is the most independent media operation I've ever worked with. And that's why it's so important that people support us at the store, where, by the way, my book, The Making of the President 2016, which outlines the role that InfoWars played in the nomination of Donald Trump so that he could become president, can be gotten at a better price than if you went to Amazon. So, folks, please go to the store, support us, and the expansion will be even greater. When I was in Austin, I got a tour of the studio in construction, which will be state of the art, and it will just make for much better, stronger, pro-freedom commissioned broadcasts from Austin and around the globe.
And even though that studio is the cutting edge, even Fox News doesn't have one like this, $600,000. They don't have a private jet or a mansion. It goes back into this. It's the satellites. We're about to pay for 3 new satellites. We have thousands of TV stations that are literally there. We have to do at least 3. It's $1.5 million a year. This closed captioning is $100,000 a year. We don't have the money right now. So I've got to hustle, do some things. We got 1 satellite right now. It's not the one stations want. We've already got a bunch of stations picking it up. So we're in a big push right now, folks, and I'm about to sign big checks. And soon I'll be able to talk about the stuff behind the scenes. It's been unbelievable. And I don't bitch about the attacks. I expected them, but it's just, if people could see it, you'd really support. InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com. Get the supplements. They're life-changing. But what you know is life-changing is the information warfare. All right, Roger, we'll talk to you in the war room in an hour. Leanne McAdoo's coming up with live transmission from Florida to cover so many issues, go through a raft of clips and more. And again, they're trying to censor, they're trying to block. They got the algorithms, but they can't stop you on your email, on your Twitter, Facebook, Google, to your neighbors, your friends, your family, saying, hey, this is the show they don't want you to hear. This is the one they want to shut down. Spread those links. Even if you can't buy the products or don't want to, that's fine. Just spread the links and pray for us. Thank you all for what you've done. Those of you that have been steadfast, I want to thank you. We'll be right back with Leanne McAdoo. Stay with us.
I am Leanne McAdoo coming to you live and last minute from my studio here in Florida. So good to be back with you all. We've got so much to talk about. Obviously, the big bombshell right now is this FISA memo. Everyone's talking about it, except, of course, the establishment media. They don't want to talk about this. They don't think it's a big deal, something that whispers and rumblings that this could send people to jail. Very top-level people could be facing jail time, but that's not important. That's not important to people like Chris Cuomo over at CNN. He doesn't want to talk about that. It's just more of a look over here show that they're putting on, is what we're being told, that the Republicans have nothing. So I'm really interested to find out what's going on, and we'll play a little flashback video because just last week we had former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino saying something is about to happen, that there is something brewing, an explosive scandal ready to burst dealing with this dirty dossier. So imagine being Hillary Clinton and the DNC and people who thought this dossier was going to bring down Trump, and it's actually backfiring. And man, this is a scandal that is, they're saying it's going to really finally undo President Obama's savior image once and for all. So I want to go ahead and play that clip with Dan Bongino where he's talking about what's breaking this week.
Dan, why is this problematic?
Gosh, where do we start with this case? This is the biggest mess. I'm telling you, it's the most explosive scandal. It's getting ready to burst with this OIG report coming out now. But on this specific incident about the Trump transition record emails with GSA, why not get a warrant? I was a federal investigator for 12 years and a local police officer for 4. Well, worked with the police department for 4, 2 years as a cop. Why not get a warrant in the most consequential counterintelligence investigation in American history? Why not? Basically because this is a hoax. I said to you before the show, we're asking all the wrong questions here. The question du jour has been, what was the dossier used to get a warrant on Trump? Wrong question. Important question, but the wrong one. The real question is, why get a warrant at all? Why was the Trump team being spied on? Nobody has pointed out one single predicate crime to point out why Donald Trump's team is being spied on. Not one.
Exactly. I mean, are the Democrats okay with this? Are they okay because it was President Obama and his DOJ and his buddies that were actually involved in this scandal and surveilling a citizen, a private citizen at that point? President Trump hadn't even clinched the nomination. And, you know, for some reason, even with the votes against releasing this and declassifying this FISA memo, saying, no, the American people, they don't need to know about this. Why? I mean, are they okay with this abuse of power, this apparent abuse of power? Because, you know, I guess that means then they're going to let the tyrant Trump turn around and do the same thing coming up in 2018 and 2020. I mean, this is a real problem. And that is why people are saying this is huge. The American people need to know. At the very least, release the memo so that it will stop all the conspiracy theories that are going to play out because of this. Now, this is a memo circulating on the Hill, but it was written by Republicans, classified by Republicans. Why don't they just get it declassified? They're putting it on the Democrats to declassify it. So it is kind of a game that's being played right now. A lot of people are also saying, well, why doesn't the president just declassify that original FISA order in the first place so we can see who was really behind all of this? I feel like if the president were to do something like that, he would still be turned into the enemy. He would be demonized. It wouldn't make as big of a splash. And we all know that President Trump has a flair for the dramatic. So perhaps he is, holding out to really, really underscore and completely rewrite the legacy of the former president and his administration. And so many people are saying that this is going to be completely devastating and that once and for all, it's going to be the toughest pill to swallow for the media, who has just really been riding on this Russian collusion narrative and trying. You notice when it all sort of circled back around to the Democrats with this dossier, that kind of got pushed away, kind of got silenced. And so, it's interesting that this broke last night. I couldn't get any sleep because the release the memo hashtag went viral on Twitter. The fact that that was even allowed to go viral on Twitter was very interesting in itself. Maybe Jack must have been asleep or something to allow that to go viral. But this memo is naming and shaming those who sought to deliberately undermine and obstruct Trump's presidency. So this is a big deal. And so let's go to another video that we have Congressman Matt Gaetz. He's actually talking to Fox News, explaining a little bit about this FISA memo. It's a long clip, so we'll just try to get into the meat of it here. He's saying that this could end the Mueller investigation once and for all.
Have you seen the memo, sir? Yes or no?
I have, and I share the concerns that have just been expressed by Congressman Meadows and Congressman Jordan. Our republic is in jeopardy if we allow this type of a palace coup environment to continue to persist, and that's why I'm one of the members of Congress who will be encouraging today Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes to release the memo. We can have a vote in the Intelligence Committee, a vote of the full House of Representatives, and this is a matter of such importance that I think we need to do it immediately.
Well, I mean, listening to some of this reaction, characterize what's in the memo. What's it say?
Unfortunately, I can't get into the specific details in a top secret document, but that's why we have to release it. I don't think it's appropriate for just members of Congress to be horrified by the activities that were undertaken during this endeavor, and that's why we've got to allow the American people to see it. I will tell you this, Bill. If we get this memo into the public square, heads are going to roll at the FBI and at the Department of Justice.
One comment said it was like the KGB. This is really strong language. Is the suggestion that the abuse on behalf of the federal government was indeed spying on Americans without their knowledge and without proper legal authority? Yes or no?
Again, that would get into the specific contents of the memo. I can tell you that we can never live in a country where this type of thing happens. And particularly the authentication processes that are laid out in the memo are of such fiction. They are so laughable that they would never withstand scrutiny from the public. And what I'm worried about is that the cast of characters identified in this memo is not a group of people who are gone. Many of these people are still in our government. They still wield influence, and that's why we've got to get this information out in public.
But you just said people will be fired at the FBI and Department of Justice,
and possibly worse. I think that there could be people who could face criminal consequences as a result of the activities that are laid out in this memo. And it's easy to see after reading this memo why Senator Grassley and why Senator Graham wanted to refer this matter for criminal prosecution. Laws were broken.
Wow, this is a big deal here. Will we see it, yes or no?
Yes, I have every confidence after speaking with Paul Ryan and Devin Nunes that after we go through the right procedures and provide the adequate notice to the executive branch that we will release this memo, but we need the public to continue to call for it. And I'm encouraged that within the last half hour, there have been over 20,000 tweets on Twitter with the hashtag release the memo. It shows that the American public is demanding more transparency, and that's really how we drain the swamp in Washington, D.C. More transparency, more sunshine. It's the best antidote to corruption.
You've said a lot. Matt Gaetz, the Republican there from the Hill. We await to see it then.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Right. The American people deserve to know if there is evidence of illegal FBI and DOJ spying on the Trump campaign. At the behest of whom? Hillary Clinton? President Barack Obama? Who ordered this? Whose heads are going to roll with this memo? We do want to know. This is something that's, pretty incredible. And we're going to have more on this in a minute. I want to get into Cuomo talking about, you can just see the nerves there trying to, tell us why this is so important. Why do the American people need to know? Now, sneaky Dianne Feinstein released the whole Glenn Simpson testimony with Fusion GPS because she felt pressured by some person. American people needed to know that. But we'll get into this a little bit more right after this short break. All right. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I am Leanne McAdoo hosting the fourth hour, and we've got a lot of clips to run through here. Let's talk about this looming government shutdown that is, got everyone's feathers ruffled. Of course, we know no matter what, it is going to be blamed on the Republicans. Well, they just wouldn't cow to the demands of the Democrats. We know that's going to happen either way. So today at today's White House press briefing, this was kind of brought up like, you want to say this is Schumer's shutdown because the Democrats are refusing to work with the Republicans. But, the Republicans control the House and the Senate and the White House. So, can't the Republicans just get this done? No, that's not really how it works. And so the director of the Office of Management and Budget, Mick Mulvaney, actually slammed Jim Acosta and said, come on, buddy, you know as well as everyone, that's just not how it works.
Comment at the beginning of this, you said this was the Schumer shutdown. How can it be the Schumer shutdown when Republicans control the White House, the House, and the Senate?
Come on, you know the answer to that as well as anybody. I mean, I have to laugh when people say that, oh, we control the House, and the Senate, and the White House, why can't you get this done? You know as well as anybody that it takes 60 votes in the Senate to pass an appropriations bill, right? You know that.
I know that.
Okay, so when you only have 51 votes in the Senate, then you have to have Democrat support in order to keep the government, to fund the government. So that's the answer to your question.
The president asked Congress to come up with a solution for the Dreamers. Congress was in the room. Members of Congress were in the room with the president last week. It seemed to be a fairly productive meeting. And then the whole process got blown up.
When Republicans tried to...
If I may, it seems that the whole process was blown up by the president's comments.
When Republicans tried to add a discussion about Obamacare to the funding process in 2013, 2017. We are accused by Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer of inserting a non-fiscal, a non-financial issue into the spending process in order to shut the government down. How is that not exactly what is happening today? There is no reason that you have to deal with DACA this week. There's no reason you have to deal with DACA before the end of February, the middle of February. DACA doesn't expire till March 5th. This is purely an attempt by the Senate Democrats, led by Mr. Schumer, it's why we call it the Schumer shutdown, in order to try and get a shutdown that they think this president gets blamed for. Yes, ma'am.
Right, and of course, so if there's no compromise on the budget by midnight, this shutdown will be finalized. And, you know, like Mulvaney points out, they're trying to push something on DACA and the Dreamers, and it's just not necessary. Now, yeah, maybe if we were dealing with the former administration and many administrations before this one, it does take forever to get anything done in Congress. But the president already said he had that open door, transparent meeting. All the press was invited in. He said, look, I'm going to sign whatever you guys send me. Whatever you send me. If you guys are able to work together and compromise, I'm going to sign it. We're not going to be going back and forth. So we can hold off on dealing with the Dreamers. We don't need to wrap that up in this budget. It doesn't have anything to do with keeping the government open. So the Democrats are trying to derail and hold the government hostage in order to get the demands of their illegal immigrants met. Totally crazy. So I was seeing this narrative coming up on Twitter. Well, you know, the Republicans control everything. Why don't they just pass it? And that's not how it works. But CNN and Jim Acosta was just going to run with this narrative. Can you imagine if they would have just ran with this narrative and Mulvaney never would have checked him and said, come on, that's not, you know that you need 60 votes to be able to pass this through the Senate. Why would you even put out that fake news, that propaganda? But yeah, that's what we're dealing with here. So there's a video actually by John Bowen where he talks about Jim Acosta being compared to Charles Manson working for the PSYOP organization. Let's go ahead and roll that.
Speech President Trump to Joseph Stalin, who calling the free press, quote, the enemy of the people.
Well, I'm saying that he borrowed that phrase. It was popularized by Joseph Stalin, used by Mao as well. Enemy of the people.
Nothing to see here, folks. Just more yellow journalism being force-fed to you by the Gelin organization offshoot over there at the Operation Mockingbird headquarters, established in the 1950s by Frank Wisner, director of the Office of Policy Coordination, a covert operations unit created by the United States National Security Council. As early as the 1950s, CBS, Newsweek, and the New York Times were in Wisner's back pocket. Phil Graham of the Washington Post ran the cabal of journalists for Wisner that would control the public mind, an operation that continues to this very day. Edward Bernays said, "We are governed, our minds molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested." Are these PSYOP organizations not the very definition of an enemy of the people?
Thomas Jefferson wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." So from the very beginning, our freedom has been predicated on truth. The founders were visionary in this regard, understanding well that good faith and shared facts between the governed and the government would be the very basis of this ongoing idea of America. The enemy of the people was how the President of the United States called the free press in 2017. Mr. President, it is a testament to the condition of our democracy that our own president uses words infamously spoken by Joseph Stalin to describe his enemies. It bears noting that so fraught with malice was the phrase enemy of the people that even Nikita Khrushchev forbade its use, telling the Soviet Communist Party that the phrase had been introduced by Stalin for the purpose of, quote, annihilating such individuals, unquote, who disagreed with the supreme leader.
And if it's okay to compare the President of the United States to Joseph Stalin, who was responsible for the deaths of roughly 20 million people, can we now start comparing Jim Acosta to Charles Manson? They've both used cultish disinformation to persuade their followers to consider hostile irrationality against the status quo.
Mr. President, did you say that you want more people to come in from Norway? Did you say that you wanted more people to come in from Norway? Is that true, Mr. President?
I want them to come in from everywhere. Thank you very much, everybody.
Just Caucasian or white countries, sir, or do you want people to come in from other parts of the world where there are people of color?
When the gloves completely came off after the quiet suffocation of the 65-year-old Smith-Munn Act that was tucked away in Obama's 2013 NDAA, unshackling Obama's State Department to allow total propaganda to run like a feral cat through the collective consciousness of the United States.
The Smith-Munn Modernization Act of 2012, passed as part of the National Defense Authorization Act, will allow the CIA to flood America with more government propaganda. Frank Church revealed in 1975 how the establishment media works hand in glove with the CIA.
I thought that it was a matter of real concern that planted stories intended to serve a national purpose abroad came home and were circulated here and believed here, because this would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country.
You see, sensationalism has always sold papers.
And, of course, that cultish disinfo has only increased ever since the repeal of the Smith-Munn Modernization Act. We will have some more real news for you coming up right after this. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I am Leanne McAdoo, hosting live from my Florida studio. And the only reason I'm able to do this is because of the listeners out there who help support this broadcast. You allow Alex Jones to not just drop me like a hotcake when I have to come here and take care of some family responsibilities. I'm able to Skype in and to still be with you guys on a remote basis. Thank you so much for the support. And so, of course, none of that is possible without your visiting the InfoWars store, signing up for the newsletter to see all sorts of new and exciting products that we're launching. One of those being the new InfoWars Shirt of the Month Club. This is new to me, so I'm really excited about this. This is every month. We're going to be releasing exclusive new shirts. So you can sign up for this Shirt of the Month Club. You'll be receiving limited edition shirts. You'll also be saving 20% on those shirts from the retail price. You just need to order by the 1st, and it'll be on its way on the 10th. So these shirts are going to be exclusive to the program. You're not going to be able to find them anywhere else. They're not going to be, just willy-nilly out there in the store. As an added bonus, Alex Jones, wow, he is going to sign a random 10 shirts to show his support for the fans that make the InfoWar possible. I know when I get back to the studio in Austin, I will sign some of these T-shirts as well, just to kind of entice you all to sign up for this Shirt of the Month Club. These are going to be exclusive. And the first shirt of this program is the best-selling Won't Tread on Me, but instead of the typical color in yellow, it's going to come exclusively in red. So you'll be supporting the InfoWar, and you're also going to be getting exclusive gear that's going to help you spread the truth. This is the InfoWars T-shirt of the Month program. Sign up for it today. I'm hoping to get back in the studio next month, maybe March, and I'm going to sign some of those T-shirts randomly too. I mean, I'm not even going to ask for Alex's permission. I'm just going to sign them, and we'll send them out. I wanted to talk about something that I couldn't stop laughing, really, about this very sad Gallup poll that is making the rounds today. As if we care what the rest of the world thinks about President Trump's leadership style. But apparently that's big news for some of these other media outlets out there. So it's a poll. Under Trump, global approval of U.S. leadership hits historical low. It's a historical low of 30% in 2017. This is other nations' approval of the U.S. leadership under President Trump. And so they're saying this measure signals an 18-point drop from just a year earlier, when 48% approved of the national influence under former President Barack Obama. Wow. So what does this mean? This means that nearly half of the world likes it when the U.S. leads by capitulating and kowtowing and bowing down to militant ISIS commanders and bankrolling state sponsors of terrorists in Iran and sending them billions of dollars in unmarked bills. And, say, hey guys, don't spend this money on acquiring a nuclear weapon or sponsoring any terrorism. Am I right? The strategic patience that the leadership style of Obama, he exercised that strategic patience with a nuclear armed madman, rocket man, the baby, right? And so this is the soft leadership style that apparently nearly half of the world would prefer. They like that sellout teleprompter president Obama, who, turned us basically into the United States of apologists. So it's no wonder that these globalists and these leaders around the world prefer that Obama. They prefer the guy that was such a great negotiator that he got the U.S. tied up in all of these really bad deals that President Trump is now having to undo. So what does this say? That in just 1 year, this approval rating around the world could just tank. Oh my goodness, what could Trump possibly have done to rattle these guys? Well, he's cut funding to terrorists. He's stopped sending billions of dollars to the United Nations to help support these nations that absolutely do not have our best interests at heart. They don't respect us when it comes time to make decisions that are going to serve American interests. He's putting America first in these trade negotiations and putting American safety first with immigration versus, the demands of illegal immigrants. He has allowed our generals to actually decide when to strike terrorists. So in just a year, we're seeing the near defeat of ISIS. He's bringing jobs back to the United States. That we got a soaring stock market. He respects the flag, the rule of law. So no wonder these globalists don't like him. They're like, wait, you're making America great again? We had just destroyed you, man. So anyway, here's to President Trump's approval rating continuing to tank around the globe. Screw you guys, because Obama's gone. Now, I want to go ahead and play this clip. Is it already going? The FCC manipulating the response of the masses. Alex Jones report.
No, I'm not a racist. I am the least racist person you have ever interviewed. That I can tell you.
Remember F. Lee Bailey, the famous corrupt lawyer, known for big problems, $1 million fines, you name it. Remember F. Lee Bailey on the O.J. Simpson trial? They had a white guy do it, get up and say the N-word over and over and over again to the black jury. And that's how they got him off. He said the N-word 41 times. I want to go to YouTube and grab it for documentary purposes. They aired it on Court TV, ABC, NBC. But I remember years later airing it on talk radio and the station manager coming and saying, you don't do that. And that's the big issue. CNN, MSNBC, broadcast, you name it, on CBS, ABC, they are saying every 10 minutes, they're playing the clip. Sometimes every minute of quoting the president when he says he didn't say it, saying these are SH, you-know-what-T countries. We've got Acosta saying it. We've got them all saying it on CNN, you name it. Again, just like F. Lee Bailey saying the N-word over and over and over and over again. You can't use it, but if a liberal, fraudulent, corrupt lawyer, in my view, wants to use it to manipulate a jury and let it, clearly a guilty man go free, as we now know, if you want to do that, you are a bad person if you're not the establishment. But if you're the establishment, you can. So CNN, to inflame emotions, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, they're all quoting the president as saying this and saying it to get people out of their comfort zone on mainstream TV to suddenly hear them cussing. If I cuss or a caller slips through, our stations complain. We've lost affiliates before because the FCC will selectively fine them. Or Howard Stern, if he wants to say SHIT, he had to leave terrestrial radio because sometimes it would slip through. But now mainstream media, they can all do it because the executives are saying go full bore, do whatever you want, take them out. That's why they've got former Democrat governors, it's on Infowars.com, saying they will punch out the president. Hashtag hunt Republicans. Go kill Republicans. This is what they say. And people are getting attacked. Hot coffee's getting thrown on them. They're getting shot. They're getting beat up. They're getting their families assaulted. And they think it's funny as they usher this country towards civil war. And notice the left hadn't come out that I've seen and denied the new documents that came out from the Soros group trying to trigger martial law and race riots when Obama had only a year left in office. See? That story up on Infowars.com. Incredible. I believe the president that he didn't say it, but we've seen them lie about him over and over again. I could say that sources say the president snorts methamphetamine in the White House off hookers' rear ends. Not true, but if I said it on CNN, they would all parrot it to give it credibility. And it's the same thing. You never hear them say those things on television. They're not supposed to under the FCC, but they're doing it because they want to stick the knife in, turn the edge, and then put salt in the wound. Total manipulation.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. This is the last segment. I'll be with you, Leanne McAdoo, coming live from Florida. And right now we are really witnessing the media crumbling. They're in a panic. The only thing they've got is name calling. There's so much winning with President Trump. He's really trying to bring people together and actually attempting to be the most transparent administration ever by holding these open door meetings. And Jim Acosta wants to say, well, you know, we could have got DACA, Trump said, but then he used bad language, so it's off the table now. I mean, all of these excuses, and it's people are wearing us down. I mean, people are really tired of this. And so it's not a wonder that trust in the mainstream media is at an all-time low. People know and believe that they are being lied to, that stories are being made up, that videos are being edited. And that's why people couldn't get enough of Trump's fake news awards. And they were like, yes, please do this. And so I guess in an effort to, undo some of that apparent bias that has earned them top billing on the fake news awards, we have the New York Times and CNN, other outlets actually talking to real life Trump supporters and not just the crazy circus freaks that they try to find at every rally to say, well, look, I told you they're all racist. No, they're actually talking to just your average American, educated, cares about their country, concerned with what's happening here. And these were done this week, Wednesday, Thursday, in a series of letters to the editor in the New York Times. And they just printed the letters and allowed these Trump supporters to say and make their best case for why they support the president and why they think he's doing a good job. And this is newsworthy because the paper comes out right and they admit that they've been overly critical of the president and that they are printing all these dark stories about him and admitting they don't normally give a voice to Trump supporters. So again, and they're doing this in the spirit of open debate. So all of these are really great if you've got the ability to access these New York Times articles and read some of them. They make a really good case for giving these president high marks for his progress. They talk about him nearly defeating ISIS, cutting taxes for middle-class families, making those great court appointments, prioritizing American citizens over illegal immigrants, getting us out of those really bad deals, the TPP on day one before he even went to his parade. My goodness. Of course, putting real pressure on North Korea and Iran. Newsflash, not everyone is Hillary Clinton's deplorables. A lot of Trump supporters are well-informed and care about the country. And so this was, it seemed as if it's an effort by the New York Times to be more fair and balanced, but that's not what's happening here. When CNN goes and wants to talk to those former Democrats who switched and vote for Trump, oh, well, we want to hear, how do you feel a year later? Were you happy with your decision? They don't care. I mean, it's just like the drive-by journalism they did right after the election when they went out to places and painted all the Trump voters as these poor people in these factory towns who just were duped by this president and he's not really going to do anything for them. Lo and behold, a year later, jobs are coming back, more money in people's pockets. And so what's really happening here is the media is trying to regain a lot of that lost audience they had. And they want to bring in those Trump supporters and say, look, guys, we know we've been unfair. we're going to give you a shot. We're going to let you air your grievances and print your letters to the editor. We're going to hire some conservative columnists like Bret Stephens at the New York Times. But what they don't tell you is that these conservative columnists are never Trumpers. So even though they're trying to get away from their coastal elitist liberal bias that they've really been pegged with, they're trying to say, we're being more fair about it. They're never Trumpers. So any story that you're going to get out of these outlets, even though they're giving a conservative slant, they're going to be filtered through that negative, never Trumper bias. And so that's what's happening here. This is to try to regain some of that objectivity for the 2018 elections coming up, 2018 and 2020. They want to try and dupe us into believing that they are now all of a sudden going to be objective, because again, after the repeal or the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act in 2012 went into effect in 2013, that was really when you could see the media losing all objectivity. They didn't even try to hide the fact that they were for Hillary Clinton and that there's so much opinion and bias in their reporting. I mean, it's just incredible. If people aren't familiar with that Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, that was put in place back in the 40s to stop the CIA and the government from pushing propaganda on U.S. citizens. They were pumping it out to the rest of the world, but they weren't supposed to be pushing propaganda on the United States. That was revealed at the church hearings. And so then with this Smith-Mundt Modernization Act signed by, good old President Obama, they're allowed to push propaganda now. They don't have to hide it. And by golly, they sure have been, especially with this dirty dossier. Now, I want to go to another clip. This one is Rob Dew and Alex Jones. They talk about, speaking of propaganda, think about Silicon Valley, Twitter, Facebook, how they're controlling the information that we are allowed to read and to speak. It's all a form of that control and that PSYOP machine. So let's go to this report by Alex Jones and Rob Dew.
Knowing the power of the people, knowing that was coming on the internet, they created these things so people would make it big, and then now they come in and censor it while they want to censor any other site. These are internet ghettos. But it's a fraud, it's racketeering, it's fake advertising, it's discrimination. We hit them there. But like Matt Drudge said, and as I've said, we got to create our own websites like Infowars.com or Newswars.com. We've got to create our own platforms. And listeners have to go to those platforms realizing and share that info, realizing that it's all up to us. If you go to newswars.com or prisonplanet.com, and if you go there and if you share those links on the enemy's platforms with your own email, your own by hand, they can't stop us. So at the end of the day, it's up to you. But they are already ratcheted us down. But because we fought so hard, we've stayed the same size the last year, which has completely confounded them. So they're in panic mode. That's why they have congressional hearings, everything else, because it's not working. Well, the answer is sue Congressman Quigley, saying shut us down as fake news for civil rights violations. And we're behind the scenes suing people. There'll be public lawsuits, don't worry. But we're doing it.
You were ahead of your time by you created a social media platform years ago. It ended up, kind of dying.
Well, it got infiltrated, and it wasn't all fancy with CIA money, but
Right. You didn't have CIA backing. You didn't have the push to the front. But still, it's people that need to make things like that, like their own social media sites, to take away.
And then Gab did, and Google bans it on there, and then calls for it to be shut down.
Right. They don't want competition. And it's like, hey, if you don't like what the people are saying on Gab, don't respond to them or don't follow them.
But it's way beyond all that. We're under total criminal censorship attack.
Oh, yeah.
Bezos is making $1 billion every 2 days off the scams he runs and government funding. The Washington Post is literally the enemy of this country because we keep being reasonable.
Right.
We keep just kind of looking at the facts and the evidence and, debating this and polishing that. The globalists are absolutely in total war against the recovery, against the president, against all of us.
Yeah.
No more just sitting there like pundits analyzing this.
And James O'Keefe hit it on the head. They use the word SHITTY.
Because we can't do that. We're not upper class elite liberals. They're allowed to say it because it's documentary and they're okay. We can't.
And then 3 hours later, they come out with the same thing. Oh, Trump said this. Who do we have? We have people, according to people familiar with their reactions. Those people weren't even in the meeting. According to people familiar with their reactions.
People in the meeting say he didn't say it. Of course they're lying. Of course. Garbage. They found people that only want social media power. They get the dopamine of getting promoted, so they don't care what the truth is. There could be a cure for death. These people don't want it. They have chosen people in these things that are literally pure scum. And so some say the answer is leave Facebook, Twitter, and Google. And I agree. The president needs to break it up. Google, Facebook, and Twitter are a greater threat than Hitler, who wanted to conquer the world, because they're scientific, they're committed, they're evil, they're using psychology. So I agree. It's now time to shut down Google. They want to shut our speech down? Right. It just hit me. Fine. It is time to have congressional hearings and all of it, and not just break it up. It's time for Google, Facebook, Twitter, and all these groups as criminal international crime syndicates with everybody's personal data, as we're going to break next Monday, sharing our photos, our videos, turning our cameras on, recording it as intelligence agencies. It's time for Facebook, Google, Twitter to be shut down as criminal operations, just like the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany. It is time to shut them down.
All right, that's going to do it for the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, Roger Stone is going to be coming up next on The War Room with a lot of bombshell information. You are not going to want to miss it. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.